अं, ते मागची मीटिंग मी थोडं ट्राय केलं होतं ना, ते तेवढंच आहे त्यात. लाईव्ह म्हणून येत नाहीये. मी परत एक मी लिंक क्रिएट केलंय त्यावर पाठवतो तुम्हाला मॅम. हा हा पाठवतो. हो हो. Good evening, Raj and Asta. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, we can. Good evening.
How many students are in the team?
Uh,
I'll give access as a host, as a co-host.
okay, sir. So I've asked everyone to join the meet. I think there will be 7 to 8 people from the team.
Okay, okay, okay.
आज भी नाम चेंज कर दे.
हाँ.
Gauri, even you too.
Hi, sorry. Could you repeat?
change the name if your event is over.
So sorry. Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yes, Raj.
Sir, please make Aditi, Gauri, and Naman co-host.
Okay. I'll do that.
The meeting is being recorded now.
No, not yet.
Okay.
The recording is on pause and live streaming is on.
Okay. Sir, so when we begin, just I'll give you a reminder to start the recording because Rishali ma'am had asked me.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
And sir, after the webinar is over, please keep the meeting on for approx 30 minutes because it takes time to fill the
Yes,
feedback
yes.
form. Okay, sir.
I'll post feedback form in YouTube. Okay.
Yes, sir. Sir, only if there's someone watching from the YouTube live, then only post the link because then many people might fill the
I'll
form
do
as
that.
they
I'll
need.
do that. Don't worry.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Slides visible, है ना?
Yes.
I have not. I have not added animations if that's required.
Raj, could you please share it again? I'll check on YouTube.
Yes, sir.
Completely visible or not. Just a minute. Yeah, perfect, perfect. Good.
Okay, sir. Sir, please make Rajvi Doshi also a co-host.
Okay, okay.
Good afternoon, Nithin.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
How are you?
I'm all good, ma'am.
Yeah, so your last webinar was very good. Huh? Everybody
Thank you.
really appreciated the students
Thank you, ma'am.
and looking forward to today's webinar.
Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Akshay.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon,
Good
ma'am. Good
afternoon.
afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
Nithin, Akshay Tinganwar is the other colleague of in the BC department, English department.
Okay, that's good.
So I think Vishali ma'am is yet to join. Huh?
Yeah. She just gave me the link.
Okay.
I didn't have
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. She is joining.
Raj.
Yes,
Good
ma'am.
afternoon, Raj. Yeah. So
Good
I hope,
afternoon, ma'am.
yeah, we have uploaded the link in the FY classes. I hope the students join in time.
Yes, ma'am. I have also sent them the link as well right now. So they'll be
Okay.
joining. They'll start joining now.
Okay. Okay.
Good evening, Kavita ma'am.
Good evening, Vishali.
Good evening, ma'am.
So we were just chatting with Nithin and telling him how successful his first webinar was.
Yeah. Hi, Nithin. Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, has Vedant also joined?
Yes. His exam is going on, but he is attending this.
Vishali ma'am,
Yes,
what
ma'am.
we will do is we will start in time. Okay,
Okay.
Raj is going to coordinate and get the students. We won't wait for too long. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll just call Shubha ma'am.
Good evening, Kavita ma'am. Good evening, Nithin sir. Good evening, Rishali ma'am.
Good evening, Gauri.
Yeah, good evening, Gauri. I'm just trying to call Shobna ma'am. Her phone is engaged. I'll just try after 2 minutes. When she joins, we can just start.
Yeah, no problem.
Vishali,
Yes, ma'am.
could you contact ma'am?
Ma'am, her phone is engaged.
So, how? What's the time now?
Yeah, it's 5:04. I'm just trying one more time. Otherwise, should we wait?
Yeah, we'll begin. We'll begin, and ma'am will probably join because I know she's in college and very busy just now. So,
Okay.
but we'll give it a minute or two and we'll begin. Actually,
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
you
ma'am.
send her a message and you begin.
Yes,
then.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Just a minute. Yeah.
Participants are requested to stay on mute, and please note we'll be beginning shortly.
Gauri, can you hear me?
Hello, ma'am. Good evening. Yes.
Yeah, good evening, Gauri. Yeah, Gauri. So I think we'll wait for Vishali ma'am's message and then we'll begin.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Shobna ma'am is on another call. She's just joining. We'll just wait for ma'am 2 minutes. Yeah.
So thank you. Yeah, Vrishali. I'm Gauri. Can you hear me?
She'll join after some time.
Yeah, Vrishali.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
there.
Yes, ma'am. Gauri,
I'm
please.
there.
Yeah. Ma'am is busy, so we'll begin the program.
Okay, okay, definitely. Will do. Great. Uh, Raj, could you just confirm if I'm properly audible and visible?
Yes, Gauri, you are.
Okay, thank you. Very good evening to one and all present here. I, Gauri Kalyankar, welcome you all to this webinar, The Next Step, hosted by the English Literary Circle of R.A. Podar College of Commerce and Economics, Autonomous. It's a lovely day today, isn't it? Well, I think it is, and I feel honored that I happen to be hosting all you wonderful people today. I am glad to see such great number of people gathered here because this webinar talks about a crucial point in every student's life. And by the end of it, I am pretty sure all of you will be able to take away some great insights from this webinar. Before we begin, I would like to take a moment and request our ever supporting Vice Principal Ma'am, Mrs. Kavita Jaju, to kindly share with us her precious words of wisdom.
Thank you, Gauri. A very good evening to our resource person, CA Nithin Shetty, faculty members, Vishali ma'am, Akshay sir, and all my dear students. Firstly, I would just like to say it's so heartening when all my students says ever supporting. So my dear students, we are here for you and we are here because of you. I want to tell you that. You are the gems. You have made a major difference in Podar College. Podar Ratnas. That's what we call you people. And I think one potential candidate for Podar Ratna is Nithin Shetty. Nithin, I'm sure you have read so much about the Podar Ratnas. Brace yourself, okay? As you progress, we will definitely look forward to awarding this, conferring this honor to you. Students, I just would like to say about the topic today. I just like to tell you, in this modern world, in this competitive world today, you selling or marketing yourself is very important. Simple living, high thinking, this is what we used to always say. Well, you can have a good living as well as high thinking. The two can go together. So, our Poda students have all, Nithin, I think you are aware. Poda students have always been very modest. So that's something, when you tell them about resume writing, I'm sure you're going to stress on this, how to highlight whatever we are doing. Because generally what we do is, we think, "Arey, ye to sab log hi karte hain. What's so great about it?" Let me tell you, sab log karte hain. But the way Podar students do it, alag hai. You have raised the bar, all my students, when you have been doing various credit courses and all your other professional courses with your BCom. So I think make the most of this session where you are going to be trained. It's not just going to be words, you're going to be trained on your resume building, on preparation for interview, how to present ourselves. So modesty is good, definitely good. But don't be shy to let the world know who you are, what you are, and what you are capable of doing. I wish you all the best. It's going to be a lovely evening, as Gauri said. We are looking forward to hear from you, Nithin. Over to you, Gauri. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's always lovely hearing from you. And like you said, yes, resume is something that we all generally work upon, but the nuances of it is something that we really have to understand. And today we're going to be learning just that. In fact, I feel that right now we're all at a stage where resumes and interviews are something that we absolutely have to be prepared for. How can you have the perfect resume? How is it that you can wow the interviewers? All these are pretty common questions that students like you and me are bound to have. This is exactly why we have among us Mr. Nithin Shetty, our guest speaker for today, who is just the right person to guide us on this. Sir is a CA by education, a CFO by profession, and a management and financial consultant by heart. Being an ex-Podarite himself, he knows the college in and out and knows what great potential do the students of this esteemed organization hold. Sir has been a cultural secretary and a general secretary during the time that he was in Podar. Being the sports enthusiast that he is, Sir has played national level cricket for the Mumbai under 15 and under 17 team, state level football and volleyball, and district level badminton. And not just that, he has also been a district level gold medalist in athletics and a silver medalist in the national interregimental rifle shooting. Sir has also won the Sahara Scholarship for the best NCC cadet and the best speaker award for 2010 and 11. In fact, Sir has also started his own business venture, a clothing brand that moved on to become an FMCG company in 2014, all at the mere age of 19. It's super amazing to learn how much Sir has done, and we would like to extend our warm welcome to you, Sir. And we could not have been more grateful that you could join us today. Before we begin, I would just like to request all the students to stay on mute unless otherwise asked. You may unmute and switch on your cameras when you're asking your questions. Okay, I know all of you are very eager to hear and learn from our guest speaker, Nithin Shetty, sir. So I promise I won't take any more of your time. And without any further ado, I would like to call on stage Mr. Nithin Shetty to take this webinar forward. Over to you, sir.
Thanks a lot, Gauri, for those kind words. Actually, the journey of mine has just started, and as Kavita ma'am mentioned, there's a long way to go, and hopefully someday in the future, people like us, like students like us, do get an opportunity to become, like say, to become like ex-Podarites. There are huge list of ex-Podarites who have achieved amazing statures in the corporate world. You take the example of any MNC today, you remove the list of board of directors, you'll find at least one or two ex-Podarites over there. So I've come across a lot of these, management, while being a management consultant. Even when I used to consult a lot of these startups and all, used to find at least one or two of them like chartered accountants. And the next question is, which college are you from? And it sounds really well. It sounds really great when you hear Podar from their from their words. So this is something that as Podarites, we are, like as the slogan goes, Podarites, right? We are born for greater things. So having said this, we'll start off with today's session. So I believe in the last session, we had covered upon points as to how to move towards the ideal destination for your career path, right? The ideal goal that you guys might be having. Now the question arises, you guys know what your goal is. Say, you know, you have that desired profession in your mind, that desired industry in your mind. Now, how to approach them? So one major question that arises is, I have to prepare a resume. So as rightly mentioned by Kavita ma'am, see, why is resume and interview important? Resume is nothing but your only document which markets about each and every skill set of yours. When I'm saying marketing, it is very important. See, whenever we come across pamphlets or leaflets also, we don't come across like pamphlets or leaflets which are 3-4 pages, right? It should be short, sweet, but at the same point of time, you should not leave any step or any stones unturned when it comes to boasting about the things that you have done in life. So a lot of time what happens is, as rightly mentioned by ma'am, we do not end up mentioning a lot of things, considering that all of us have done that. Say, as Podarites, we might participate in a lot of social activities. We might be participating in a lot of cultural activities. So as freshers in the industry, these things matter because you would not have a lot of work qualifications to add on to your profile. So how are we going to cover today's session? So initial half an hour, I'm going to stress upon the aspects of how to prepare an efficient resume. And the next half an hour, I'll be posting it, having it for specifically for interview prep. So what are the nuances of preparing for an interview? Because you can very well prepare for your interview. 80% of all the questions, of all the situations that you guys are going to face in an interview, you can very well prepare for even before the interview starts. So in that half an hour, we are going to discuss upon that. And post that, I would like to have, say, a good 30-40 minutes for your questions, because I believe there will be a lot of questions in your mind by the end of both the sessions. Starting with the resume building. See, one very important thing that you guys need to understand is, because I have myself created my resume for different, so I, as Gauri had mentioned during the introduction, I started off with my own venture quite early in life. So basically, because of that, I didn't really get an opportunity to prepare my resume as much as the opportunity that I received to judge the resumes early in life. I started building my resume in the last couple of years when I had 2 to 3 years, when I have been working as the CFO for various companies and all, wherein and also from the management consulting job that I had. So there are different kinds of CVs that you prepare depending upon the role that you're applying for. So if you're going for, say, a conventional CA role, something like, say, a tax role, an audit role, the nuances of building up a resume will be very different from how are you going to build it if you're going to go for any of the consulting firms, say any of the MBB firms, McKinsey, Bain, BCGs of the world. If you're going to look out for an iBanking, there'll be some changes again in your profile, right? So what we'll cover today is the two major aspects of the CV. The first one would be the fundamental aspects of the things that should be covered in a CV. And the second one would be the technical aspects. Now, when we start off with the technical aspects of a CV, one major question that anyone usually asks is, sir, what should be the length of the CV? Whether it should be a 1-pager, a 2-pager, 3-pager, 4-pager. Because a lot of time, what happens is you would want to add in a lot of details, right? From your extracurricular activities, your co-curricular activities, your, what you could say, job qualifications, job experience and all. So space becomes a major constraint. What I would suggest is, if you're going to apply for consulting firms and all, 1-pager CV is something that is quintessential. But if you have a lot of work qualifications and all that you don't want to miss out on, don't go beyond 2 pages. Because one major aspect of preparing your CV is how good are you in terms of articulation. So they're not just going to judge you on the content of your CV in the sense, what all are your achievements, but they're also going to judge you on how good are you in terms of articulating your entire CV. So if you're not able to have your entire achievements curated in 2 pages, then possibly you need to work a lot on your articulation. Right? Even Elon Musk can fit his CV in 2 pages. So hum log to obviously kar hi sakte hai, right? So when we are talking about this, moving towards the technical aspect, the first thing that you need to keep in mind with regards to the length of the CV, you start off like, I'll show you, I'll give my CV as a reference point. Is it visible, guys? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So there are a lot of CV building softwares. Please use them. Do not go and directly start experimenting on Word. You'll waste time. You won't get the right alignment. So there are a lot of softwares like canva.com, Cake Resume. I prefer canva.com basically because the way they structure their CVs or the kind of different formats that they provide, it's really good for a professional CV. So having said this, whenever you're structuring your CV, the first part is from a technical standpoint would be your basic introduction. Now over here also there are 2 aspects to it. If space is becoming a constraint. So for me, while I was creating this CV, this was primarily built for a consulting profile. So when I was building this CV, the major problem was space. So that's the reason why I had to try out multiple formats to fit in all those things in a 2-pager CV. So the first aspect is the introduction of yourself in a resume. So whenever you're sending in a resume is as good as a marketing pamphlet that you're sending about yourself. So you need to send in some details based upon which they can contact you if they're interested. So you do not need to mention your address and all those details and waste 2 or 3 lines mentioning that. If they are interested, they will ask you, where do you live, where do you stay, and all those details. You don't need to mention all of that in your introduction part of your CV. So what you can mention is, you can mention your email ID and you can mention your mobile number. That would be more than sufficient. Name, email ID, and mobile number. That would be sufficient. Now, I've added this chartered accountant, CEO, FO, and all. Now, that was primarily because the kind of role that I was applying for, I wanted to showcase these keywords. So it's like the algorithmic thing that LinkedIn does. So if you would have seen in LinkedIn also, you put in what you could say a header. The reason why it is like it comes out from your CV that, say, for example, if you're looking out for a management consulting role or a CFO role, so word ut ke aata hai. So that was the reason why I mentioned it. You guys may not need this. So you can directly start off with your name and your email ID and your number. No need for address and all those. Second and most important comes your educational qualifications. Now in your educational qualifications, right, if space is becoming a constraint, you can do away with your 10th standard and 12th standard and all. Because see, if you are a graduate and if you have completed your CA, it's a given that you would have cleared your 10th and 12th. And the marks are not that relevant if space is becoming a constant. But because the format that I got from Canva was something that I could fit everything in a single box. So that's the reason why I mentioned this. So academic qualifications, apart from your professional courses, like say 10th, 12th, 15th, TYBCom kept aside, 10th and 12th wouldn't matter as much. It only goes to show that you have been good in academics all throughout your career. That's the only thing that it showcases. Otherwise, it's not very important, 10th and 12th. Your graduation and your chartered accountancy or any of the other professional courses, if you would have done, please mention all of those. That would be very important. Moving towards a very critical aspect of your CV, and that's work experience. So I'm also covering the fundamental aspects together now that I have the format in front of me. So usually whenever you're going to apply for your jobs, you're going to be, like, say, either a fresh graduate, or you're going to be, say, just done with your articleship as a CA final, as a CA chartered accountant. You'll be done with your articleship and you'll be applying for a job, or you would be a BCom grad with some internship experience, right? So work experience as such will be very limited for you. So how can you post in details which can bolster some kind of opportunity for you in terms of not exaggerating, but explaining whatever you have done from a work experience standpoint. So what I suggest interns, or say CA articles and interns and all, say for example, to give you an example of CA articles. So in their 3 years of articleship, chartered accountancy interns, they have a good exposure of, say, tax, audit, or whichever field that they have done their internship in. Even in case of BCom grads or BCom undergrads, what I would suggest is you guys have 2 years after this now. After this year, you guys are most probably in FI BCom. So in the next 2 years, make it a point, considering that you have enough amount of time, please do enroll yourself in summer internships or even normal part-time internships. Because, or else at least help your parents who have their businesses and all get involved into those. Because see, as a recruiter, I'm not only interested in your educational qualifications, because every other person with the help of all the resources available can score good marks. But I also want to know whether you have had a taste of what it is there in the corporate setup, right? So that's very important. So if you guys are currently not involved in any courses and all, wherein you wouldn't have any internships, then what I would suggest is for the next 2 years that you have, 2 or 1 year, whatever, please enroll yourself in some internships. The kind of exposure that you're going to get, it will open up your horizon. At the same point of time, you'll have something to add in your work experience. Now, considering that you have something to add in your work experience, right? How are you going to put it across? The first and the foremost thing is you're going to mention what is your role that you would have played. Say, for example, you would have worked as a marketing intern or a marketing executive or a finance intern, finance executive, audit assistant, whatever it might be. Also, at the same point of time, mention the firm that you were working for or the company that you're working for. And very important, what have you done over there? Just don't mention marketing intern and there you mention what you could say, work for this XYZ firm for these 3 years or 2 years. It won't make any sense for me. I want to know what did you do as a marketing intern? Because most of the interns in articles, right, they do it for the sake of that certificate. Most of these interns do not really put in a lot of efforts to learn a lot of intricate details. So if you would have done something that will make you stand out from the others who will be sitting for the interview, right? So make it a point that you mention, say, I participated in some digital campaigns or learned about SEO and was driving in traffic on the website, whatever you did as a digital marketing intern. Mention those details. Say if you're doing your CA articleship, as in you're applying as a chartered accountant after just becoming a CA chartered accountant. So in your articleship, if you're mentioning, if you would have done say 3, 4, 5 different clients all throughout your 2 or 3 years of internship or working in a CA firm, what I would suggest you to do is in that scenario, mention the most relevant work experience first. Now, how do you define the most relevant work experience? Say, for example, over here, Raj is someone who's wanting to apply for taxation profile. And during his articleship, he would have done, say, tax, audit clients, and say he would have done stat, internal, everything he would have done. But as a recruiter, I am interested in someone who is having the tax skills. So you are also going to project your tax expertise only at the forefront. So 2 aspects. One is post the most relevant work experience first, and then in the order of decreasing importance. Or second, what you can do is the most latest one at the first. Now, why am I mentioning the most recent one first? Because what happens is even in your internship, in your initial days of your initial couple of years of your internship, you might not get a lot of core meaty work. In the later years of your internship, right, you would get some really nice assignments. Say in your 3rd year of articleship, you are as good as working as a chartered accountant. So the things that you can boast about in terms of what you did in those clients will be much better as compared to what you would have done in the initial years of your internship or articleship. Same goes for non-CA students also. So if you are interning somewhere, the recent, say at your 3rd year BCom, the kind of responsibilities that the firm that you are interning at would be giving you would be very different from the kind of responsibilities they would have given you at your first year BCom or a second year BCom. So mention the most recent one first, and then you can move down the ladder. Once you are done with work experience, you move towards an aspect which I would want you guys to actually utilize to your advantage. Because I do understand all of you guys are, say, first year, second years, and by the time your graduation is also done, you wouldn't have a lot of internship or work experience. So one thing that can add in weightage to your CV in that scenario is extracurricular or co-curricular activities. Now, have you guys heard of extracurricular or co-curricular activities? Like, is there any differentiation between the two, anyone? Extracurricular, co-curricular, or is it one and the same? Anyone? Raj, what do you mean by, like, say, extracurricular, co-curricular? Is there any difference between the two?
Sir, co-curricular is basically something which I have done to complement my academic experience or whatever I am doing along with. And extracurricular is apart from the academic, I have done something else in my career perspective or something. Example, let's say I'm doing CA, my articleship. So that's basically, I can say that's co-curricular, doing articleship along with CA. And I'm also teaching at a class. So that will become extracurricular.
Oh, not really. So what I was referring to over here was when we are talking about extracurricular and co-curricular activities that you're doing in college. Co-curricular means those activities which, as you rightly mentioned, you are doing in sync with whatever you're studying. Say, for example, you're participating in speaking events, you're participating in group discussions, you're participating in debates, elocution. All these are honing your skills, which are a part and parcel of developing you as a student, as a professional. Right? On the other hand, you'll be doing a lot of things which will not be a part of the core curriculum. Like, say, for example, you'll be participating in dance, you'll be participating in, say, sports, you'll be participating in, say, music and all. So that's not a part of you as a student, as an academic student. But that's also important. Now the question arises, ki boss, kaun sa cheez hame CV mein dalna hai? Whether we should be mentioning co-curricular activities or extracurricular. So in terms of co-curricular activities, write as much or as many activities as possible. Like, say, for example, if you would have been a part of the group discussion cell, or you would have been a secretary of any of the forums, right, during the 3 years of your college life, or if you would have, say, participated or won some events in Rostrum Spectrum, or say in any of these intercollegiate elocution or debate competition, youth festival and all, mention those things. That will add in a lot of weightage for you as a professional, because see, you are a fresher. It's not expected from your end to have a lot of work experience, but it is expected for you to have participated in a lot of these events to hone your skills, soft skills, right? And if you wouldn't have, and you weren't even doing your any professional course, then the question arises, what did you do in those 3-4 years, 5 years, right? Because all of us know that BCom studies are not do not consume a greater portion of your time. You have a lot of time, and what do you do with that? That's something that as a recruiter I would be wanting to know, if you are not someone who's doing any professional course, right? So in that scenario, co-curricular activities make a whole lot of difference in your profile. Apart from that, extracurricular activities, if you want to mention only if you guys have done something at the, say, district or state or national level. Don't say that, don't mention and what you could say, occupy a huge portion of your resume by mentioning, say, I have participated in Rapo in dance, or I would have participated in some football event in Rapo and all. So what happens is that's at the intracollegiate level, right? And that's not something that as a recruiter, I'm not interested in what all events did you participate in. If you would have done something at the state or the national level, say you were you had participated in some dance or youth festival event at the state, district or national level, I would want to know why, because it showcases that if you're committed to some cause, if you're committed to something that you're interested into, you're going to excel in it. You're going to put in a lot of efforts to excel in it, right? That's something that I would want to know. But if you have participated in something at the intracollegiate level and all, at the extracurricular phase, please, do not mention it. Do not waste. Because see, what happens is when I'm talking about your resume is nothing but a pamphlet that is marketing your skill sets. So if you are adding in irrelevant details, that's diluting the effect that your entire pamphlet can have as a whole. So please do not do that. co-curricular activities done, extracurricular activities done. The next portion for that is if you would have done something in the social activities front. Say, for example, at Podar, we organize a lot of these, say, social runs, social marathons. We do a lot of tree plantation programs, cleanliness programs and all. We have our own NSS. So if we can mention, if you have participated in any of these, trust me, matters a lot. If you are socially aware, because it showcases that you are a matured professional. You know the nuances of what's happening in the society and you're aware about it. So as a recruiter, right, I would be interested in such a kind of a possible employee or prospective employee. One very important another aspect that we usually add in specifically for fresher, and that's skills and competencies or interests, what we call it as one single block. Now, say, for example, if you're applying for a job like a capital markets job, a stock analyst job, right? And in your BCom, or even if you're doing CA, you have not studied a lot with regards to being a stock market analyst. You have not, gotten a lot of intricacies of how what a stock analyst does. But you still want to apply for that job. So this is the area where you can curate your content for that particular job. And how you can do that is, say, for example, if it's mentioned skills, interest, core competencies and all, what you can mention over there is, say, someone who likes analyzing companies or analyzing annual reports. Don't make it very obvious also that you are trying to portray or perceive yourself, as a very, a nerdy kind of a person, because don't make up all those skills and interests also. You can mention a couple of them, like, say, music and everything. But at the same amount of time, insert at least a couple of them, which is directly curated to the job profile that you're applying for. So if you're applying for, say, a stock market analyst, you need to mention, like, say, I'm good with numbers, something that should showcase that you are very good in terms of analyzing shares, analyzing financial statements and all. And you have a good, you're a good voracious reader, someone who likes reading and all. So those skill sets, right, will, say, finally add some preference for you while you're applying for that particular job. Apart from that, in the resume, a couple of other details. One is a reference check. Now, this is specifically becoming all the more important these days, because what happens is, a lot of times, say, for example, if I'm recruiting someone, if I'm recruiting Raj over here, he has mentioned details in the CV, right? But before calling him for an interview, or even after calling him for an interview, I want to judge whether this particular individual is credible enough or not. So I'll give you my example itself. So I'm currently in my notice period. I'm actually shifting to a different company now, a Dutch diamond company, as the VP of finance over there, corporate finance. So I had an interview in the month of November and December. And after the interview got over, the CV was, they ran through the CV and all, had 3 to 4 rounds of interview. The promoters were super impressed with the interview and everything. And after looking at the CV, they wanted to, because the promoters were all Dutch. They were not based out of India. So they wanted to actually assure themselves that whatever this guy, so I still remember the CTO, right? CTO had mentioned this to the CEO, and CEO just told me as jokingly that the CTO, after my interview, he had mentioned it to the CEO that either this guy is a Superman or he's a fakester. In the sense, because it's not possible for someone to do all of these things that he's doing, or else he's just faking around. So that was his comment. So after the interview, they wanted, like, just one thing that we would want to do a reference check. So they asked me for 3 separate people. One under whom I had worked, one someone whom I have managed, and one someone with whom I have been working as colleagues. So after that, they were like, we just wanted to assure ourselves. We were super impressed, but we just wanted to assure ourselves. And these days, this is happening a lot. So you would want to post in someone's name as a reference name, but just keep one thing in mind. If you're posting someone's name as a reference number or a reference person, make it a point that you call that person. Say, for example, now tomorrow, Gauri is applying for a job, right? And she puts Vrushali ma'am's and Kavita ma'am's numbers as reference check, right? Make it a point that you call Vrushali ma'am and Kavita ma'am and tell them that I have given your name as the reference number, a reference for this job that I'm applying for, what that job is, and also send in your CV. Because there'll be a lot many details which Vrushali ma'am and Kavita ma'am might not be knowing, which you would have done, right? And they would not be knowing the kind of profile that you're applying for. So if you could tell them, so accordingly, when the guy calls them, they can answer it also accordingly. So I remember there was this one junior of like my college junior only. You guys might be knowing or not, I don't know. Pranjal Savarkar. So he was applying for a job in one of the IIT-based startups, and he used to work with me at my startup previously. So he had given my name as the reference. So he had told me that I'm looking out for a data research analyst ka profile over there, and the guy is going to give you a call. So I also answered it in a manner that showcased the skills which were required for that particular profile. And he ended up getting that job. So that makes a whole lot of difference. So mention, so reference, aap jab bhi dete ho na, give them a call, whomsoever's name you're going to mention it as the reference, right? And apart from that, if you could mention a lot of these online courses that you do, right? A lot of online courses. So please, firstly, if you have not done it, please do those courses in the next 2 years. And because, see, again, I'm saying you have to compromise, or say somewhere down the line, you have to compensate for your lack of work experience. As a fresher, obviously, it's not expected from your end to have work experience. So you would have come across a lot of these LinkedIn memes wherein a small kid is studying and they are like, this is because people want at the age of 20, they require 10 years of experience, right? So it's not possible for you guys to have a lot of work experience. But you can compensate for that with a lot of these courses, online courses, because that showcases that you are very much keen to learn a lot about that particular field. So make it a point that you do those online courses and you mention it also. See, for example, any specific courses that you have done. So you can mention it as courses are done or whatever, you can mention it. And at the end, the last part, you can have it as a reference details you can mention, say whomsoever's reference numbers you are going to provide. So just target, if as far as possible, to have your entire CV in one single page. Try to fit it in one single page, because that would be an ideal scenario. Even if your initial आपने जो word में draft बनाया होगा ना, it would go for 2.5 pages. That's fine. But then go for a few of these formats based out of Canva.com or any of these CV building softwares. Trust me, those 2.5 pages ka CV, right, can be brought down to a 1.5 page ka CV. And also remove a lot of these, what you could say, unwanted details. If you guys have done any work internship and you have gained some experience, or you have done some quantifiable details which you can boast about, please mention those. See, for example, abhi yahan pe maine mention kiya hai ki reduce the DSO from 119 to 27 days, or led the pan India launch of a vertical. So whatever work you have done, right, mention that, because that makes it quantifiable. If you just mention marketing executive, but what have you done? Like, say if you mention that prior to you joining in that firm, the viewership of the website was this much. You took some initiatives and it changed to this much. Trust me, if you mention that, right, आधा वहीं पे impress हो जाएगा a recruiter, and he'll be like, at the age of 2021, if someone is thinking from that perspective, just imagine if they join us in another few years time, they'll be what you could say leading the verticals over here. So that's very important for you to work from that respect, right? Now moving towards certain technical details that I would mention. Firstly, there are a lot of softwares today. Please you cannot afford to have any grammatical errors. Please, grammatical errors, no to grammatical errors. And at the same point of time, a big no to Shashi Tharoor English. See, the prospective recruiter might not be someone who would be very well versed with English. And if you're applying for finance jobs, chart accountants, trust me, they are not that great in English. That's the reason why we have GMCS programs, orientation in GMCS programs, right? And that's the reason why a lot of chart accountants actually consider speaking skills or English as a limitation for them. So keep very simple English. Do not use a lot of high-end English words. Keep it very simple, and so that it's very understandable regardless of the audience. Abhi ek question aata hai usually ki sir, should we use a lot of colors and all? Can we use colors? Can we use diagrams? Can we use those pointers and all that you mentioned? See, as far as possible, if you're applying for a finance job, investment banking job, consultancy job, आपका graphical experience या बोलते ना creative experience कोई judge नहीं कर रहा है. Because all of these are the people who are going to judge you also, right? They are very boring people in terms of all of this. So no one's judging your creativity in that respect. Even if you still want to have colors, not more than 2 colors. Now, when I'm saying 2 colors, not white and black, obviously. 1 color apart from that. You can have, say, a blue or whatever. Because of Canva.com, again, I'm not a marketing executive of Canva. I'm just giving you an example. So it has really great, what you could say, CV ke liye formats. right? So you can take some formats from there. And along with this, make it a point that even if there is a slight, what you could say, the slightest bit of an achievement that you have done in college, which you feel can make a difference. Say, for example, there are a lot of awards that are awarded in college, right? If you have topped in any of the years, or if you have topped in any of the subjects, you have, like, please boast about. See, I still boast about my Outstanding Student of the Year award that I had received in my year. I still boast about the Principal Special Award that I've received. So there are awards like in the annual day, you have Rihanna Nazir Award. All these awards are there. And if you end up being those fortunate ones who end up receiving these awards, please boast about them, right? Because that gives an indication that wherever you have spent time, you have done something worthwhile over there, right? So ये सब चीजें, and अगर नहीं अभी तक मतलब you're in FI BCom, you have 2 more years. You can get in touch with Rushali ma'am. How can you end up, what you could say, achieving those awards, right? What all things that you would have to do, you can get in touch and you can get those details. But please, these things matter a lot, because as freshers, right, आपका जो इंटरव्यू के लिए ना कंटेंट यहाँ से ही आता है. इंटरव्यू के लिए एक गुड पोर्शन ऑफ द कंटेंट यहाँ से आएगा, और दूसरा आपके आंसर्स से हम लोग और कंटेंट पूछेंगे, which we'll discuss in the interview aspects. But now, right now, focusing upon this CV, try to keep it crisp, precise, to the point, but at the same point of time, do not compromise on marketing yourselves. Under market mat karo. देखो, when I'm saying do market yourself, I don't mean to say कि आप वो जैसे brands वो false claims करते हैं ना कि India's best या the best brand in the world or whatever, वैसा भी मत करना, because वैसा करोगे तो कैसा है, personal interview में there will be questions asked. So do not say something that you cannot back it up with facts. If you are claiming something, if you are saying something, make it a point that you have some justification for that. What if they ask for a document or some reference, right? And trust me, in your interview, if there is any form of dishonesty that is seen, either in your CV or in your interview, you'll be striked off without even asking any other question. So please do not compromise on your ideals just for that one particular interview or for that one particular job. Clear? Now, before we move towards interview prep, I would like to throw the dais open for any questions if you guys have pertaining to the CV. Anyone having any questions for the CV? If there aren't any, we can move towards the interview then.
Raj, was there any question from the audience regarding CV in the questions which we have collected from the registered students?
We did have a few questions. Let me just.
Okay, then we'll take. So if there aren't any live questions as such, we'll take it at the end only. Then all those questions as well.
Okay, no problem. Students, I just like to highlight the fact that this is a great opportunity to ask her about whatever doubts you have. So please don't hesitate and ask your questions away.
True.
So one more thing, see, when you're building up a resume, right, keep one very standard rule in mind, that you cannot have one single standard resume for every job that you're applying for. So what happens is, out of your college as a BCom graduate, you would be wanting to apply for everything and anything under the sun. LinkedIn में उधर 1500 jobs है तो आप सबको apply करोगे, right? But apply करो, I'm not denying that. You should experience a lot of things. Only then will you be in a position to decide what would be that ideal thing for you. But while doing so, थोड़ा सा वो मेहनत मुशक्कत कर लो कि थोड़ा सा curate करो CVs depending upon the profile that you're applying for. Say, for example, if you're applying for an investment banking profile, so pehle jano what are the skill sets that the recruiter is looking out for. Because see, what are you doing? You're trying to sell your skill sets via your resume. And if you're going to market or sell your skill sets, look out for what is the target audience wanting. If the recruiter is looking out for someone who's good in interpersonal skills, communication skills, mention all those extracurricular activities that you have done in college pertaining to them. Mention certain initiatives that you have done, taken, be it at your college or at your workplace. Mention those details. If you're applying for something which requires a lot of analytical skills, something into, say, stock markets and all, right? So mention all those things that you have done from an analytical standpoint. Some events that you would have won or something that requires your analytical skills and all, your financial quizzes and all, what you would have participated. All these things, mention those. And at the same point of time, if there is something from a work experience standpoint that you can boast about for that particular job, or you have done any courses, See, if you're applying for aaj ke date mein, you can complete your courses in there are 2 to 3 week courses also. You don't require a 1 year, 2 year courses. So if you're clear that you're applying for a job in the capital markets or in the investment bank or consultancy or wherever it is, get an short online course done and mention about that in your CV. It makes a whole lot of difference. Even if you're joining as an intern or as a fresher, right? It makes a lot of difference, because from a recruiter standpoint, I understand that this person is not coming here only for the money or for the brand name that the company has, but he or she is actually interested in the job profile. And for a recruiter, there can't be anything more impressive than that. A person who is actually interested in the job, because it's a very, you could say it's a rarity today. So it's almost close to all these kinds of people who actually go for something that they're interested in, right? This genre or this species of people are like close to becoming extinct, because all of us run behind money, which is good. I'm not denying that. Even everyone does that. But one thing is there, that because of the opening up of all the economy, specifically on the finance side, each and every profession can help you earn money. The only thing is whether you're interested or passionate about it. That's something that you need to ask for yourself. So having said this, from the resume, now we'll be moving towards preparation for your interviews. So as I'm saying, interview preparation, you can very well prepare for any kinds of interviews. Like almost you could say 80% of the questions, I'm literally saying 80% of the questions you can prepare for an interview beforehand itself. 80% of them. हाँ अभी 20% अभी वो obviously आपका question bank नहीं है, तो 100% तो I can't guarantee, but at least 70-80% you can prepare for. And how to do that? So any interview under the sun, right, will have these 4 major categories of questions. If you prepare for these 4 categories of questions, you are very well confident for that interview. Now, but before you go for an interview, so I'll structure the interview prep into 3 aspects. One is before the interview, on the day of the interview, and follow-up. And before the interview also, there are 4 major categories of questions. And before you move towards any of these questions, or before I move towards any of the aspects of the interview, before you apply for any particular job in any particular company, research about the company and research about the JD. Because a lot of time what happens is a lot of companies come for placements in colleges or provide a lot of these, what you could say, jobs via these portals. LinkedIn is a very good portal that you can try out. So a lot of these companies do provide. But the problem over there is their job description and their job titles are very conspicuous in nature. In the sense, risk analyst. Now, a risk analyst profile, say for example, a lot of the big fours recruit BCom grads as risk analyst. Now, the problem with that is risk analyst is a very technical profile, a very niche profile, which even chart accountants require some training in that profile before they go for that. And obviously, you can't expect fresh BCom graduates to have knowledge about it. So when they recruit such BCom grads under the profiles of risk analysts and all, what they finally end up doing is manual labor. They finally end up doing, becoming, say, assistants to article assistants working over there. So the problem is because the JD is not clear for you, the KRAs, the key responsibility areas are not clear for you, you end up going for an XYZ just because the brand name is good. And you end up wasting your 2 or 3 years of your life, wherein you can get some very good experience. So you can get some very good experience if you would be, say, going for something that is more of your area. Like say how Harsh, I believe, has asked the question, what if you are an FRM charter holder? Then it's as good as you are asking a chart accountant to become an auditor, right? That's your area of expertise. Then obviously that is going to be your area where you can go ahead with. The point is, as BCom grads, if you are not doing any other courses or careers, you have limited options to try out with when it comes to core technical areas. So core technical areas like risk analysis and all, you require some exposure to that, either in the form of a course or some internship before you move on to that. So the first thing is research about the company, because when we will discuss the interview aspect also, I'll come across a particular point that I'll be mentioning, which would require you to have good amount of research about the company done. Because a lot of time interviewers like if you ask questions about the company, right? Because they would see when you're interviewing for a particular job, it's as good as you're applying for a marriage between the company and yourself. And no matter how good this marriage works or not, you're at least going to be staying in the marriage for a year or 2, right? And before you get that divorce and you move towards another company, you have already spent 1 or 2 years of the very important formative years of your career. So you need to be very careful about the areas or about the jobs or about the companies that you're applying for. Now coming towards the 4 categories of questions. These 4 categories of questions you can very well prepare for, starting with the first category. Very common, yet the category which no one prepares for. And you can very well prepare 100% for this category of questions. And the category of question is personal questions. And if I could ask you guys, which is the most common question that anyone asks in any interview? Which is the most common question? Anyone? Yeah, Gauri, Raj. Yeah, Raj.
Tell me something about yourself, or take me through your resume.
Tell me something about yourself. The most common and the question that can be the most advantageous for any interviewee. Why advantageous? Just imagine if a person like me, I'm recruiting fresh graduates. I've been sitting for conducting interviews, 10, 15, 20 people. I'm done. I have exhausted all the questions. I require more content now. Content to ask questions about, right? So I'm asking you for the content. So you have that advantage. Provide only that content which you are comfortable with, right? So instead of giving a random answer like I did my graduation from Podar College, I've scored this much amount of marks, I did my CA from this articleship. Arey, pura diya hua hai CV mein. You need to mention why are you here and why you are the best option for the company to recruit, right? So for example, a lot of this is going to happen with you guys. Say you're applying for an interview and the profile that you're applying for, you don't have any experience. So the question that is going to arise is, why are you here then? So you need to mention, how did you develop that interest? So see, as rightly mentioned by Kavita ma'am, it's very important to market yourself. And the best way to market yourself is by stories. The most recognized brands in the world have conveyed stories through their advertisements. See, I'm not asking you guys to make up or create stories, right? Or be story writers during those interview, right? What I'm asking you guys is dig deeper. Before you go for the interview, you'll find a lot of small incident stories that have shaped the kind of thinking that you have today. So for example, if I'm applying, say I'm a fresh chartered accountant, or I have only experience in audit and tax. I have no experience whatsoever in, say, capital markets, but I'm interested in capital markets. So I'm applying for a job as a fresher chartered accountant. And trust me, even as a chartered accountant, right? Areas like investment banking, consultancy, capital markets are not the areas which fresh chartered accountants are entertained. They are not entertained for these areas. So I'm going for an interview over there. So the question that is asked to me is, tell me something about yourself. Whenever you answer any personal question, right? Answer it in PAR format. Problem, action, result. What was the problem? What was the action that you take? And what was the consequence, result out of it? So a question is put forth. I'm applying for a capital markets job with no market experience. I'm applying for a job. And the question that is asked to me is, tell me something about yourself. So I start off with a brief explanation about myself. I'm a chartered accountant, having studied in this college. Thoda sa basic introduction before I move towards the inflection point. Now, what do I mean by the inflection point over here? Uske baad, I'll be just speaking about the things that he wants to listen, that he's interested in. In the sense, I'll start off with a brief introduction about myself. And then I'll say that, sir, when I was doing my articleship, in my second year of articleship, I was internal auditing a broking company. And while internal auditing a broking company, I got exposed to the stock markets. And when what I saw over there completely took me by surprise. And that's something that I got really interested into. But just to confirm that whether this was infatuation or real love, I started doing my CFA or some kind of a course, right? Just to assure myself whether this is something that I would want to do for my career, right? Problem was that you didn't know what you wanted to do with your life. Action that you took was you possibly got an opportunity, you did some online course, or you started doing CFA, or you just opened a Demat account and started investing in stock markets, right? And what is the consequence of that? That you have it a bit more clear in your mind as compared to the other participants who are there for the interview, that this is the thing that I'm interested and passionate about, and I would want to build a career over here. Because everyone who's sitting out there for the interview, right, is going for the brand name, is going for the pay package. But if you could showcase that you are interested in that profession, trust me, as a recruiter, that would be the quality that I'll be looking out for the most, right? So whenever a question is asked, tell me something about yourself. ये क्वेश्चंस का आंसर्स है ना पहले ही प्रिपेयर करके जाना. इंटरव्यू से पहले ही पर्सनल क्वेश्चंस क्या है, वेरी सिंपल है. गूगल करोगे लिस्ट ऑफ पर्सनल क्वेश्चंस, 20-25 क्वेश्चंस मिलेगा. स्ट्रेंथ्स, वीकनेसेस, दुनिया भर के क्वेश्चंस मिलेंगे. मेक अ लिस्ट ऑफ देम, प्रिपेयर. मतलब तो आपको, इफ यू आर नॉट वेरी गुड विद रिगार्ड्स टू कॉन्वर्सेशनल स्किल्स, जॉट डाउन, स्क्रिप्ट बना के रख दो, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है यार. मतलब सी द पॉइंट इज यू आर नॉट ब्लफिंग अराउंड. What you're doing is because you might not be able to do justice if it's say a real time scenario where they ask you a question and you are not able to do justice of whatever you did in your college days. So for that you're preparing yourself beforehand, right? So this becomes very important for you guys. So other personal questions like tell me something about yourself. And another question that is asked is where do you see yourself in 5 years? Usually a question पूछा जाता है. And in any interview, right, there are 3 skills that any interviewer wants you to showcase. First and foremost is confidence, which I'll discuss it in a short while. Second, very important is honesty. I mentioned about the reference check and everything, honesty. Third, and another, like say possibly the most important amongst a lot of these 3 is showing that you guys are ambitious. Now, when I'm saying ambitious, you don't need to like answer when the question is asked, where do you see yourself in 5 years? That you'll be like, in 5 years, I'll start up my own business. I'll be on Shark Tank, or I would want to start up my own practice. So the next answer or response from his side would be, why should I fund or incubate your startup by providing you an employment over here, right, for 2-3 years? So even if you have plans of starting up on your own, batane ki zarurat nahi. 2 reasons for that. One is, if those plans would have been that concrete, you would not have been for the job right now, right? And secondly, over a period of time, things change. And अगर आपके दिमाग में क्लैरिटी होगा तो भी है ना कि 5 साल बाद मुझे डैड के बिजनेस में ज्वाइन करना है, जो भी करना है, keep it to yourself because you are here for the job, right? Do not disclose those plans right now. So at the same point of time, you want to show that you are ambitious for the question. Tell where do you see yourself in 5 years, but not as ambitious as I just mentioned. So how do you showcase or manage both these things? So say for example, if I'm applying for a tax profile in any of the big 4, say I'm applying for a tax profile in EY. And the question that is asked to me is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? So I need to show that I'm ambitious, but my ambitions should be inclined with the organization's goals. See, if I'm recruiting someone, I'm looking at a long-term relationship. I'm not looking at a short-term 1 or 2 year kind of a job, right? Someone coming in 2 years, because अगर आप 2 साल के लिए आ रहे हो ना, 1 साल तो मुझे आपको ट्रेन करने में चला जाएगा. The amount of resources that I'll be spending and creating a resource. And if you're going to leave in 2 years, there's no point for me to invest that much amount of time and money, right? So the answer should be, sir, in 5 years, if given an opportunity to work in this particular firm, I would like to groom myself towards a managerial position wherein I'll be handling a team of very talented executives of this organization and handling challenging projects. So what this indicates is you want to grow, you are ambitious, but your ambitions are inclined with the organization's goals. So if you are going to grow, the organization is also going to grow simultaneously. That's very important. Apart from these, there are a few other personal questions if I had to touch base with. Say, usually this is like a googly that is asked a question. Tell me something about your weakness. And there are 2 kinds of answers that are provided, both wrong. Usually 2 kinds of answers are provided. One is that honest guy who ends up giving a core weakness. Trust me, the remainder of your interview is going to be brainstormed on that weakness itself. Like, why should we hire you with that weakness? Second would be someone very oversmart kind of a guy who would try to showcase a strength in the garb of a weakness. So just to give an example, I had actually come across a couple of times such an answer wherein the interviewee had mentioned that, sir, like when the question was asked, tell me something about your weakness. So, sir, I am a bit of a workaholic. So whenever I get into a particular project, I lose track of time. So I end up compromising my personal life over my work life. So that I feel is a major weakness that I have. So what happens is, this is from an organization standpoint. Organizations would love people who put work over their personal life, right? But you need to understand that those guys who are interviewing have been interviewing for years now, and they know all the tricks of the trade. So do not try to be oversmart also. What you should be doing is you need to be honest, but at the same point of time smart. So given a weakness, which is a genuine weakness, but with an intention of working over it and something that is workable. See, for example, I'm applying to ENY for tax. Question asked to me is, tell me something about your weakness. So I'll be like, sir, I'm not that great in adapting to newer environments or working with different kinds of people. But considering, and because I was, say, groomed in a mid-size or a small-size firm, I didn't really get a lot of opportunities to work with a lot of different people. So I feel because I'm an introvert, that's something of a weakness that I have. But the second part is very important. But because the kind of exposure that if given an opportunity in your firm that I would get, considering the kind of MNC firm that you are, I believe I'll be able to work upon this. So what's happening is you're giving in a weakness, which is a genuine one. And at the same point of time, you're showing in a resolve or a willingness to work upon it, which is very important, right? So this categorizes all your personal questions. Trust me, Google कर दो personal questions in an interview, आपको 20-25 questions मिल जाएंगे. And उसके बाहर कोई नहीं पूछता है, सब लोग वही करते हैं, गूगल कर लेते हैं कौन से पर्सनल क्वेश्चंस, एंड को 4-5 क्वेश्चंस इतने कॉमन हो गए वो पूछेंगे. So you can very well prepare for a personal set of questions, but again I'm mentioning create some stories, and not create won't be the right word, remind yourself of some stories and keep. So say story, because people like to hear stories, people relate with stories, right? And the more stories, like I was just preparing a pitch deck for a client of mine, and over there also I am building a narrative to those specific promoters, right? I'm telling them that build a narrative before you start off with presenting the pitch deck to the investors. Build a story. Why are you doing what you're doing right now, right? So stories are very important. We tend to what you could say never realize the importance of stories. Please do that. So har ek personal question ki na kuch say, sure, give me an instance where you showed leadership qualities, or if someone asks you like, are you a good leader? So instead of saying, yes, sir, I am a good leader, mention, yes, sir, I am a good leader because this was a scenario, this decision I took, and I feel this showcases my leadership quality. पूरा आप बोलते हैं ना, पूरा कथा नहीं बता रहे हो. 2 sentences में आप story खत्म कर सकते हो, 2 या 3 sentences से. Just instance, just giving an instance. So people will remember those instances really well. First category of questions covered, personal set. Next category of questions that we come across, and that's very important, technical set of questions. Abhi technical set of questions, you cannot prepare for every question under the sun, right? There are going to be questions wherein they would ask a question, you might not have an answer. And for that also, I would give you, say, a way around it. So for example, if there is a technical question that is asked, instead of, so there are 2 ways to tackle, and both are wrong. 2 usual ways of tackling it. The first one is showing a blank face and saying, sir, I have no clue whatsoever. Second one is being over smart and creating a provision, creating an answer on the spot. Say, for example, I'm applying for a tax profile and they're asking me a question about a current amendment or some tax section number. Obviously, if they're asking in the question, they might be knowing the answer for it. So if I be the lawmaker over there and try to create a new provision, they're going to catch me on that bluff. Please do not do that. दोनों चीज मत करो. ब्लफ भी मत करो, बिकॉज ब्लफ करोगे तो प्रॉब्लम क्या हो जाएगा, आप उनके दिमाग में आपका एक इमेज आ जाएगा कि यू कैन ब्लफ योर वे अराउंड थिंग्स. सो इफ अ क्लाइंट कम्स टुमारो विद अ प्रॉब्लम एंड यू डोंट नो द आंसर, आप कुछ भी ऐसा उसको है ना, मतलब हवे में बोलकर छोड़ दोगे. दैट विल इम्पैक्ट द इमेज ऑफ द फर्म. सो ब्लफ भी मत करना, एंड एट द सेम पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम डोंट गिव अ ब्लैंक फेस एज वेल. What you can respond to, say for example, if a question is asked and I have no clue whatsoever about it, I would be like, sir, I do not have much idea about this particular concept, but I would love to know more about it. If you could explain me about this. This response you can have it once or twice. इससे ज्यादा कर दिया मतलब कुछ ना कुछ आपके टेक्निकल्स में लफड़ा, right? You have to work upon your technicals. But once or twice this answer can save you from that embarrassment. So एक या 2 बार अगर question technical answer नहीं आया, you can come up with this response. What this response shows is you are being honest by admitting that you don't know, but you're also showing the resolve that you are interested in knowing about it, right? So that's important. The third category you move towards is current affairs questions. And if anyone is applying for investment banking, consultancy jobs, all the non-core CA jobs ki agar aap apply kar rahe ho na, this category is going to be quintessential, very important. See, as professionals, we need to have an opinion about all the social, economical, political, financial issues, financial news that is there in the world out there. You'll be like, yaar, wahan pe kuch lafda chal raha hai in the society. How am I going to be affected? Each and every job that you do, right, it's going to get affected. You say that you can stay aloof, you can stay apolitical. You can never be apolitical. You have to have an opinion. Otherwise, what happens is, say, I'm not able to remember the exact quote, but the people who don't take sides in the what you would say in the case of a war or something, right? They are the biggest culprits, because unless and until you don't have an opinion, you're not contributing towards the entire decision making. So it's very important as a professional that you need to have opinions. Those opinions also need to be backed by facts. ऐसा नहीं आप WhatsApp यूनिवर्सिटी से कुछ सुन लिया और वहां पे जाके बोल दिया, उससे अच्छा तो आप चुप रहो. So there's another quote, right? Rather than opening your mouth and removing all doubts, keep your mouth shut and let them wonder whether you're stupid or not, right? So similarly, don't use WhatsApp University a lot. Whatever opinions you have, make it backed by facts. So आप बोलोगे कि सर इसके लिए कैसे prepare करना है? Last 6 to 8 months में जो भी major issues हुआ है on the financial note, social, political, read about it and form an opinion. This will help you in your group discussions as well, not only in your interviews. So third category is current affairs questions, and you need to have some knowledge about each and every issue out there. इसके लिए again आपका reading habits developed होना बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है. For you guys, I had mentioned this a couple of days back as well, that you need to start reading those newspapers. Fourth and the final category is what I call it as the out of the box kind of questions. You would have come across these questions a lot many times in your WhatsApp forward. IAS, IPS kind of question, the riddle type of questions, case study and riddle kind of questions. So if you are applying for consulting jobs and iBanking jobs, consulting jobs mein na case study questions hote. So wherein they give you a problem, wherein say there is a company facing this particular issue, what kind of solution would you suggest? और या फिर investment banking and all में ना वहाँ पे आपको कुछ analytical numerical question देंगे. या फिर there are a lot of times just to play around to see how your brains work, some spontaneous riddle kind of a question they'll ask. So in most of these questions, there is no definite answer. What they are interested in knowing is how do you think? How do you analyze? How is your thought process? So when you're concluding towards an answer, right, make that thought process known to the individuals out there. That will help, right? Out of the box questions. So most of these kinds of all the 4 categories of questions that I mentioned about, you can very well prepare for. So personal set of questions, 100% prepare kar sakte ho. Technical, to a great extent you can. Current affairs also almost 90-100% आप कर सकते हो if you are touch space with major issues. Out of the box questions, that's not in your hand. अगर आया तो भी वो आपको deal करना पड़ेगा, spontaneously, courageously आपको deal करना पड़ेगा. Clear? We are done with the questions. Now we'll be moving towards preparation part में और क्या क्या करना है. Clothes matter a lot. Your demeanor matters a lot. So formals. When I'm saying formals, business formals. Checkered shirts are not business formals, guys. And at the same point of time, if you could wear blazer and a tie, it shows that you're serious enough. It shows that you are here not as if कि यार 10 interviews के लिए जाना था तो एक यहाँ पे भी आ गया. No, you're serious enough about joining that particular company, right? So, and girls also at the same point of time, whatever Indian or Western formals, make it a point that both guys and girls, you wear clothes which are not very jazzy in color, very sober colors. The reason why, because when you wear some very bright colors, right, and you're not comfortable with those colors, interview में ना आप अपने कपड़े में ध्यान दोगे. मतलब don't become like a Ranveer Singh and go for an interview, right? Because you might not have the confidence that he has to carry those clothes. So you'll be focusing on your clothes more than your content. So ऐसा कुछ पहनो जिससे आप बहुत comfortable, right? Because that will help you a lot in that interview. Interview में nervousness बोलते ना वो सीमा पार कर देगी. And at that scenario, you want to be comfortable with regards to all the other aspects. You need to only focus on your content. So clothes matter a lot. Secondly, scheduling interviews also matter. So the last thing that an interviewer wants from your end is for you to be late for the interview. And no interviewer is going to entertain that. And what happens is during this interview season, say once you're done with your graduation, you'll be applying everywhere. So एक दिन में 2-2, 3-3, 4-4 interview के लिए भी आप apply करोगे. So don't schedule more than 2 interviews in a single day. And those 2 interviews also keep sufficient gap between them. And also पूरा map करके रख दो कि यार एक interview समझो वाशी में, एक नरीमन point में. So how are you going to be at both the places at the given point of time, given period of time? You shouldn't be late for any of those interviews. One more thing, interview preparation हम बोल रहे हैं, you can very well prepare for it. आज हमारे पास time नहीं है, otherwise in these GMC sessions, right, I do take mock interviews. So ask your friend to take a mock interview for you. List of questions आपने already Google किया हुआ है, उसको दे दो. और because see what happens is the first quality that I mentioned about confidence. Confidence, see as students, right, as students of Indian education system, we are confident when we are prepared. We are not very good in terms of extemporary skills. We are not very good with say spontaneity. We are very good with preparation. अगर कुछ भी आप prepare कर लोगे ना तो confidence automatically आ जाता है. चाहे वो exam हो, speaking skills हो, or anything. Same applies for the interview as well. So ask your colleague, friend, whomsoever, to just do some dry runs, mock interviews, dress rehearsals of an actual interview. That will help you build your confidence as well. In terms of preparation also, social media matters a lot. Now, I'll be touching upon a sensitive point over here, but it is something that matters a lot these days because a lot of recruiters do stalk you on social media. And I'm not even exaggerating this, specifically your Facebook and LinkedIn. हाँ उन लोग इतने भी बड़े स्टॉकर्स नहीं है कि इंस्टाग्राम में जाएंगे, but at least Facebook, LinkedIn and Twitter, these are the accounts that they stalk. Because see, what happens is once you have been recruited, you are representing that particular firm. If you end up putting in some opinion or something that's controversial on social media, लोग individual को गाली नहीं देंगे, लोग कंपनी को गालियां देंगे, राइट? अभी जैसे कि KFC का एग्जांपल वगैरह देखा होगा, वो कोई एक पाकिस्तान का एक डीलर ने ऐसा मूड में आके कुछ एक पोस्ट डाल दिया, सब लोग KFC बैन, Hyundai ban, वो सब करना स्टार्ट कर दिया, right? So this happens a lot in today's times. So companies are really careful about who are they recruiting, right? So एक चीज, there are a lot of apps which help you get rid of any controversial content that you have shared on social media. So there are a couple of apps, I don't remember those names of the app, but you can Google it off, आपको मिल जाएगा. Be careful about that. Secondly, a lot of time what happens is interviewers call you for the interview and call you 30 minutes before. से अगर शेड्यूल इंटरव्यू 10 बजे रहेगा, आपको 9:30 को बोलेंगे, and they'll ask you to come and take a seat in the pantry area or in the reception area and monitor your movements, how restless you become, how many times you open your mobile phones, how many times are you on the call, because see, these same traits you're going to take in when you're recruited. So office में भी जाकर आप वही करोगे, से कितना टाइम आप Instagram में रहोगे, कितना selfies लोगे, whatever you do, right? So these personal traits are very important. Technically, if you're even like say a bit a notch below what is expected, that's fine. You will be able to garner those skills. But these personal traits or personality skills, personality or how you are as a person, all these things matter a lot. So अगर आप लोगों को जल्दी बुला भी दिया है, तो न्यूज़पेपर ओपन करके बैठ जाओ वहां पे, राइट? आप नहीं भी पढ़ रहे हो, थोड़ा सा नाटक कर ही सकते हो, आधा घंटा, 20-25 मिनट्स, राइट? और एट द सेम अमाउंट ऑफ टाइम आपका CV है, बेस्ट थिंग इज CV रट्टा मार लो. Because see, CV is the only thing that they know about you. That's the only, like जैसे कि आपको क्वेश्चन पेपर दे दिया है, बोला है कि यार यही क्वेश्चन बैंक है, यहीं से क्वेश्चन पूछेंगे. And good part is ये क्वेश्चन बैंक आपने लिव किया है, जिया है आपने. So you'll be able to create answers also really well. So you go through the CVs properly, right? आपको पता है ना, वो आपने रोडीज के इंटरव्यू देखे होंगे, वहां पे भी क्वेश्चंस आपके वो फॉर्म के बेसिस में प्रोवाइड करते हैं, राइट? डोंट वरी, ऐसा इंटरव्यूज यहाँ पे नहीं होगा. But the point that I'm mentioning is whatever questions you are going to ask, it's going to be based solely upon your CV, and we would ask you for further content जो आप accordingly बता सकते हो. So this we move towards from the preparation of the interview, we move towards on the day of the interview. अभी on the day of the interview है ना, a couple of things that you need to keep in mind. Firstly, as soon as you reach the premise where the interview is going to be taken, be at your most courteous self. In the sense, ask for permission even for taking a seat and all. Usually a question is asked that, sir, should we go ahead and initiate a handshake? Should we initiate a handshake? I would advise against that. The reason being, initially, when you are, both of you guys have not become comfortable, do not initiate a handshake. It might come off a bit overconfident. At the end of the interview, once you have exchanged conversations and all, you have become, say, sort of the environment has become sort of friendly. At the end, you can have a handshake, exchange cards or whatsoever. Initial phase, if they initiate a handshake, well and good. Otherwise, you can just ask for taking a seat and you can have your seat over there. One more thing, as I mentioned, confidence is very important. See, it's bound to happen that you're going to feel very nervous. A lot of things are at stake and you wouldn't want to lose out on those job opportunities and all, right? So you're bound to be nervous. Initial 5 minutes or initial to a couple of minutes, whenever they ask a question, don't rush into answering those questions. Take a few minutes, a few moments. When I'm saying a few moments, don't wait for 5-6 minutes after the question is asked. Say 5-10 seconds wait karo, draft the answer properly in your minds and then go ahead with it. Because आप घाई घाई में आपने आंसर करना स्टार्ट किया, स्टैमर कर लिए, कुछ और बोल दिए, what you had to mention, you used some different set of vocabulary, you didn't articulate it well. This is just going to add into your nervousness. So initial couple of minutes, 3-4 minutes of the interview, if they have asked you a question, take a few seconds and then answer. Even they know for a matter of fact कि आपको question bank नहीं दिया था. You are being put into a kind of a spot. So they also can understand your nervousness and everything, right? Initial 2-3 minutes ho gaya, you build upon that confidence, then you can answer properly. Apart from that, a couple of other things, like firstly, they'll ask a question, why us? There are a lot of questions like these that are asked, like why us and why not some other firm, right? So in that scenario, don't mention, say if you're applying for ENY and they ask you why us, so you are like, ENY has offices across the globe, ENY has revenue into multiple billions of dollars and all. Don't give such answers, because the response would be, don't worry, we are not going to share any of these with you. What is that you are concerned with? Like say if you're applying for ENY, why are you applying for ENY? And that too for a tax profile. So you can come up with a response that I have discussed it with my seniors, I've read it, I've heard it from my seniors, that the kind of exposure, the kind of clients that ENY has, say ENY has a lot of clients in the international taxation arena or transfer pricing. ENY is really well known for that. And that's the reason why I want to build up a career in this space. And that's why I'm here. Don't mention those details like revenue आपका इतना है, profit आपका इतना है, आपके साथ share नहीं करने वाले हो, तो don't worry, उससे कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. Apart from that, one major thorn in the entire interview is discussion about the pay package. ये usually होता है. So if it is clearly mentioned in your original job, what you could say, profile, then there's no point of discussion. But this happens a lot during your corporate interviews and all. And if you're applying not as a fresher, but somewhere after a few years of experience and all, your question बहुत बार आता है. So my answer to this question would be, do not initiate the conversation by yourself. Because क्या होता है, there is this psychology में ना, there is this anchor rule of bargaining. So whenever someone quotes a price, they are inadvertently putting in an anchor. The discussion is going to revolve around that anchor, around that price only. आप कभी सब्जी खरीदने गए होंगे मम्मी डैडी के साथ, so भाव करते हो अगर आपने सुना होगा, so अभी एक पर्टिकुलर भाव अगर समझो आपके पेरेंट्स किसी ने कुछ एक प्राइस बोल दिया, the discussion is going to revolve around that. If the shopkeeper gives the price, the discussion is going to revolve around that price. So the problem that happens is, say for example, if you initiate the discussion, or if you mention, like if you initiate and they ask you what are you looking out for, and if you say 8 lakhs or 10 lakhs, say for example, if you mention 8 lakhs of rupees as the pay package, अगर उनके दिमाग में 6 lakhs होगा ना, आप already list of priority में नीचे हो जाओगे, because you are expensive. And at the same point of time, उनके दिमाग में अगर 10 lakhs होगा ना, आप discount में मिल रहे हो 8 lakhs, right? So as far as possible, let them only mention it. But if still they initiate it and they ask you for an answer, कि boss, what is your expectation? Then think about a lot of details. अगर आप fresher हो ना, तो fresher हो तो पहले understand करो. Say if you are a fresher professional or a fresher BCom grad, दोनों का फर्क होता है. Say if you are a fresher chartered accountant, so you need to see what is the percentage of passing this year. अगर 3% passing है तो pay packages अच्छे होंगे. अगर 10-12% passing है तो jobs ही नहीं होंगे, तो pay package तो दूर की बात है. So you need to see what is the passing percentage. Secondly, what are the average pay packages in the industry that you're applying for? If you apply for audit, it's going to be different. If you apply for consultancy, if you're going to apply for iBanking, it's going to be different. अभी audit में भी आप कौन से firm के लिए apply करो? Big 4 में different होगा, mid size में होगा, small size में अलग होगा. So based upon that, whatever is the ruling price, average price, उसमें एक 10-20% का markup लेकर आप बोल सकते हो, quote कर सकते हो. Always keep that markup, because you need to keep some provision for bargaining, because bargaining में आ सकता है. If it's not a direct amount that is quoted, there is going to be some amount of bargaining. Never quote a range. अगर आपको पूछा ना तो आप ऐसा मत बोलो 8 to 9 lakhs. आपको 9 नहीं मिलेगा, फिर डिस्कशन 8 से ही स्टार्ट होगा, राइट? 8 to 9 बोल दिया तो 9 क्यों देंगे वो? 8 से डिस्कशन स्टार्ट होगा. So never quote a range. Quote one single figure. Secondly, while quoting also, don't quote a haywire figure. मतलब कुछ भी ऐसा, whatever you quote, be ready to justify it. Be backed it by facts. Secondly, while doing so, do not also undermine yourself. A lot of people end up doing that also. I'll give you an example. Rare Enterprises company का नाम सुना है? Rare Enterprises, राकेश एंड रेखा एंटरप्राइजेस. राकेश झुंझुनवाला का तो नाम सुना ही होगा आपने. Next chartered accountant, India's Warren Buffett, if I had to put it in that way. So he has this trading firm, Rare Enterprises. So there was this incident happened almost a decade back, wherein one of the chartered accountants in his early 30s went out for an interview for a role over there. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala himself had called him for an interview. So the HR before the interview just asked him, boss, what's the pay package that you're looking out for? So he mentioned 1 crore an annum. Early 30s, he mentioned 1 crore an annum. Then this was 2012-13. So the HR mentioned the only person who earns anything close to that is the person who's going to take your interview, Mr. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala himself. So I doubt whether we are looking out for someone at that pay package. So what he replied was, madam, with due respect or due regards, I doubt whether you will be able to understand what am I bringing into the table. So let me have the interview and let Rakesh sir decide what is the scenario. He didn't get the 1 crore pay package. He got some 75 lakhs or something. But today there are only 2 people in their firm who earn more than 1 crore as salary in that particular firm. One amongst them is this particular gentleman that I'm talking about. So point is, do not discount yourself also. But at the same point of time, if you are going to stick to a figure, might as well have some backing to it. ऐसी नहीं कुछ भी रैंडम बोल दिया कि यार नहीं वो एक बंदी को आईआईटी से 1 करोड़ का सैलरी मिला तो मुझे भी यहाँ पे 1 करोड़ मिलना चाहिए. ऐसा नहीं, some good, given some justification for it. Also prepare some questions beforehand and keep. उन लोग पूछेंगे कि do you have any questions for us? So if you have questions, it will add to the statement that you are interested in joining this firm. You're not here for the pay package. You're here because see, if someone is going to marry someone, you would want to know about the other person, right? ऐसी randomly तो नहीं करेंगे, right? So if you want to know because see, you're going to spend 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years of the most important part of your career. And without knowing the company, without knowing the profile, it does not make any sense for any sound professional to go for an interview. So prepare a few questions beforehand and keep 2, 3 questions, like say, depending upon what your profile is going to be, what kind of exposure you're going to get, whether they're going to be multi-departmental or multi-functional exposure that you're going to get. So whatever, those 2, 3 questions, prepare and keep, right? With this, say your entire interview gets over because we covered most of the questions before. Post the interview, usually एक पहले पद्धत होता था. आज के डेट में you have an replacement for that. India में नहीं, Western countries में very nice, what you could say, a process or a system, wherein the interviewee used to ask for a visiting card or at least get the email ID of the interviewers. And then they used to mail the interviewers a thank you note, a thank you email. Thank you email ऐसा नहीं होता है कि urge करने के लिए boss मेरे को job दे दो. It's just that, see, what happens is the person who has interviewed you is a senior person from your fraternity only. So even if you don't get the job, just by mailing, you have created a space in their minds. So tomorrow when you meet somewhere in some or the other, because same fraternity, kahin na kahin to milna hai. So he or she will recollect, "Arey, this person I had interviewed, a nice guy, nice girl," right? ऐसा उनके दिमाग में रहेगा. So tomorrow, say for any other business engagement, it might help you. But for today, you have a very good replacement for this, and that is LinkedIn. Interview हो गया, जाके connection request भेज दो. Connection request accept हो गया, message खाली कर दो एक अच्छा खासा professional. Sir, it was an honor being interviewed by someone of your stature. Would love to be connected with you on LinkedIn and learn more from you. ऐसा भेज दिया message. उसके बाद अगर अच्छा response आता है, तो try building a conversation. Job नहीं मिला तो भी चलेगा, वो उनको अगर पसंद आया ना, वो 4 और जगह refer कर देंगे आपको. Right? So try building that conversation. See, this is how you build connections in the corporate world. So कोई बोलते ना आज के जमाने में वो राजा का बेटा राजा नहीं बनेगा, right? You need not have those connections. You are going to build those connections. And how to do so? You have a gold mine. LinkedIn. बाहर कहीं knock करने का जरूरत भी नहीं है. And trust me, the kind of alumna base, again, see, the Podarhead inside me is going to come over here. So the kind of alumna connections that we have in our college, trust me, we don't even touch the surface of it. आप कोई भी टॉप नॉच कंपनी में जाता हो ना कहीं पोदार का कनेक्शन आ जाता है. और जब ये बात करते ना तो चेहरे में वो जो सीनियर इंडिविजुअल होता है ना उनके चेहरे में अलग ही स्माइल आ जाता है, राइट? एंड दैट मेक्स इट अ लॉट मोर easier फॉर यू टू नेगोशिएट थिंग्स विद दैट पर्सन बिकॉज वो पोदार का एक कॉमन कलेक्शन लिंक आ जाता है. प्लीज मेक यूज ऑफ इट. यू हैव लिंक्डइन के थ्रू आप और बेटर सर्च कर सकते हो हु ऑल आर देयर फ्रॉम से एन इंडस्ट्री विच यू आर लुकिंग आउट फॉर एंड दे आर ऑल्सो फ्रॉम पोदार. सो वो एक लिंक है कॉन्वर्जेशन स्टार्ट करने. नहीं तो क्योंकि कैसा पता है आपको रिस्पॉन्स मिलेगा नहीं. आप बिकॉज ही जस्ट इमेजिन इफ यू आर कॉन्टैक्टिंग समवन सीनियर इन एन इंडस्ट्री, he or she might not have the time to respond to you. But if you can mention these connections, like I am also from Podar and I've heard a lot about you, ऐसा थोड़ा buttering and all कर दिया, so obviously that particular person is going to respond, right? So these are the ways through which it will help you not only for the interview but from a career standpoint. See, interview एक है, interview आते रहेंगे. What I would say is just go for as many interviews as possible. You'll get a different kind of an experience. You will meet people. You'll develop those connections. Even if you don't end up getting selected, you'll end up building a lot of connections, right? So that helps a lot. Tomorrow, kahin na kahin aapko milo. Okay, so having said this, so this is how you prepare for an interview. As I mentioned, 80 to 90% of whatever needs to be done in an interview, you can very well prepare for it. The only thing is you would have to take certain steps or certain initiatives from your end. Thoda mehnat karna padega towards that. Right? That's the only thing. Otherwise, you can very well prepare for both your resume as well as interview. Now, considering that we have already reached 6:30, I would like to throw the dais open for questions, if any.
Participants, if you have any doubts, you can raise your hands and you'll be given a chance to unmute yourself.
You can also send in your doubts in the chat box to everyone so that everyone can know of your doubt and Nithin sir can answer it.
And again, I urge you to make the most of this opportunity, because what better platform would you get? I mean, this is great. In fact, sir, if it's all right, I have a few questions.
Sure. So I believe there's this question that Vinamra Patil has mentioned. How can we tackle questions in an interview which are unanswerable? Okay, matlab, you're saying that if a question is asked and you don't have an answer for that. So see, a couple of ways to it. Firstly, as I mentioned, for technical questions, you can have that kind of a response. Once or twice, you can mention that, because see, it's not expected from you, even from a seasoned professional, leave aside a fresher. It's not expected from you that you will know everything about that technical subject. So you can honestly mention that you are interested about this, but you do not have much knowledge about it. But if it's a question that is like more like a personal question, and if it's like a question that you have not thought about it, kuch naya personal hatke question pucha, take a few seconds, a couple of minutes max, and try to formulate an answer. So that's why I'm saying most of these personal questions that you can very well prepare for. या फिर दिमाग में ना 2 या 3 stories सोच कर रखना. कभी भी कोई भी एक personal question आया, कट edit कर लो, तभी फटाफट दिमाग में वो पर्टिकुलर सिचुएशन में डाल दो और चिपका दो वो क्वेश्चन. सो इसीलिए 2 या 3 है ना ऐसे स्टोरीज दिमाग में सोच के रखना फॉर पर्सनल क्वेश्चंस. For your what do you say, current affairs also, it's very important for you guys to keep yourself well read about the social issues, political issues and all that are happening. But even if there is a question that is asked that you have no clue whatsoever about, try and analyze कि यार closest इसके बारे में हम क्या बात कर सकते हैं. But if you have no clue whatsoever, mention it rather than, see, I would not appreciate someone who's just giving an answer for the sake of it and speaking something that does not make any sense. Rather than that, you might as well say that this is something that I have not heard, right? That would be better rather than creating an answer and that answer does not make any sense. Yeah, Gauri, you may proceed with your question.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. So I had a doubt that if I am applying for a marketing-oriented job and I want to create my resume, but I also want to put in some aspects. If I'm interested in stocks and I've done a course on trading or stock market analysis. So is it okay if I put in that course as a certification sort of thing in the resume? Would it confuse the recruiters or?
See, as a fresher, right? As a fresher, so as alongside your career, and when you move up the ladder, right, your profile becomes more and more niche.
Right.
When you start off as a fresher, you are experimenting. So you will be in your resume, there will be things that you would have done which do not belong to the domain that you are applying for your job, right? So there will be things that you would have done some courses over there. Mention those, some prizes and all. See, the only thing is, it also, another question comes into picture is whether you have the space. So if you do not have the space, then do away with these things. But if you have the space, mention it. See, as a fresher, from someone who's a BCom graduate, you would be dabbling onto multiple areas. And that is something that will be appreciated, because you just didn't came up with marketing. You tried out finance, you tried out stock markets. That's when you realize, yeah, this is not my cup of tea. Even as I had given you the example of Thomas Edison, he tried upon 20,000 elements before coming to the final element that made the bulb for us. So similarly for you also, you have tried out, dabbled with multiple options. That's fine. But again, coming to the point that if it's consuming a lot of your space and you don't have space in your CV, then do away with it. Trust me, to make this CV, right? This CV that I'm showcasing it to you, it took me more than a week. And 5 to 6 days were primarily to edit कौन सा नहीं चाहिए वो निकालने के लिए. Because मेरा जो एक दोस्त है उस into one of the MBB firms, he mentioned एक पेज का CV चाहिए. मैं बोला वो तो बहुत possible. I can't compromise on a lot of content. But he's like 2 से ज्यादा देगा ना तो मैं भी forward नहीं करने वाला, कोई देखेगा भी. So I had to bring it down to 2 pages. So that is the biggest aspect. क्योंकि कुछ चीजें आपके दिल के करीब है जो आपने किया है, आपको छोड़ना नहीं है. But you still have to edit all those things, right? So in the initial stages, you might not have this problem because work experience is not taking a major portion of your CV. But a few years in the industry, you'll have a lot of things that you would have to boast about your work experience also. In that scenario, be very niche. जो job के लिए apply करो, वही ये करो. Starting चलेगा, ठीक है.
Got it. Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, even I had a doubt.
Yeah.
Now, suppose if I'm into teaching and now I'm applying for an articleship job, so is it good to mention my teaching experience or my teaching part in my resume? Like, how will the interviewer take that?
So articleship के लिए आप apply करो and आप teaching करते थे. In like your say 12, 13, then all possibly you were teaching somewhere and you are doing CA, right, Raj?
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
You are applying for articleship. Possibly you would have given your IPC. अभी articleship के लिए apply करो. It will actually add to your advantages. The reason being, as a professor, right, you have a lot of skill sets, specifically tackling students, possibly of your age or possibly elder to you. And at the same point of time, you have a good hold over the language. Your conceptual clarity is much better than the others. While you study also, see how a professor studies and how a student studies, there's a stark difference between the same. Because when a professor studies, right, he needs to study from the perspective कि बच्चा ये तरीके का doubt भी पूछ सकता है. So आपको all angles से सोचना पड़ता है. So the kind of understanding you have as a professor about various logics, about various concepts is way beyond what a student can even think. So it is going to add to your profile. Till the point of time, you are not going to continue teaching with your articleship because it is forbidden actually. कि आप अगर articleship कहीं पे कर रहे हो ना, तो you can't take any other job or any other kind of a this thing. हाँ, आप करते हैं लोग, you कर भी लो आप, कोई problem नहीं है, but बताना मत, दिखाना मत. And I believe you can edit this part out. But the point is, ये दुनिया को मत बताना, करना teaching भी वैसे continue करना, not a problem. But yeah, mention it that prior to your articleship or prior to your IPCC, you were teaching. Please mention that.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Has he covered all the questions, Gauri, which we had gathered from the students? If not, then I think Nithin has covered almost everything related to resume writing and interviews. But still, if any question is left, or if any student is interested in asking any question or getting any doubt solved, please go ahead with students with your doubt. Raj, just take a look at the questions which we have received.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, I have one doubt. May I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Sir, during the interview, if the interviewer asks us that are we interviewing for any other company as well, then how should we answer this question?
Very, very important, very good question. By the way, what's your name?
Tanushka, sir.
Tanushka, very, very good question, very relevant because see, you have to be honest over there. You can't pretend to say that this is the only interview that I'm giving. There are 2 reasons for that. The first reason is you are showing your helplessness. If you're showcasing that, because see, you need to be at a good place that you have some bargaining power. Tomorrow, if there is any point that you need to discuss, right? So you need to mention it, like say not directly, but with your words, it should come out that you have options available. But because this is a profile or the company that you are looking out for, you have been looking out for quite some time, that's the reason why this has your soft corner, but you have other options as well. So आपको अगर पूछा कि यार आप और कहीं पे इंटरव्यू कर रहे हो, yeah, so yeah, mention them. So आपको पूछा कौन से कंपनीज में, so बोला sir, I doubt whether I'll be able to disclose the names of the firms, but these I'm interviewing in these particular profiles or this particular industry. You can mention that, right? But please mention that, because ऐसा नहीं लगना चाहिए कि आप लोग highly dependent है वो upon that particular company only, because no rational professional is going to do that. No rational professional is going to keep all his eggs in one single basket, right? थोड़ा diversification तो करना पड़ेगा. We are all commerce students.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to, if Nithin permits, can I just share something?
क्या मैम आप permits?
Yeah, when I was about to give interview in Pudar, prior to that, there was one interview in one of the college, and the HOD over there was very keen on taking me over there. So she was, they asked me the question, and they were aware that there is a interview in Pudar after 5 days. So they were like, if we select you, will you still go for the interview in Pudar? And my answer was, yes, I will, because that is my first preference. And for that reason, I got rejected over there, and I was okay with it.
अच्छा हो गया.
Coming out, that HOD was scolding me like anything. She was like, why you said, at least you should have said them like, no, I will not go. And then I said, ma'am, that would have been cheating. Like, saying here that I will not go and then getting selected here, and then again, informing I got selected at Pudar, I can't come now. I said that would have been cheating. So I told them very frankly that, boss, I'm going to go for an interview in Pudar, and my first choice always is going to be Pudar. It was related to this question. I just remembered suddenly. Any other question? Any other question?
Ma'am, yeah. From the existing list of questions that we had, students had asked in the Google form, there's this one question that what are the top skills that one must acquire in today's world?
So see, with regards to, so this also depends upon the area that you're going to go ahead with, but some general skills, like as a BCom grad, that I would want you to have is, firstly, is very good in Excel. You should have Excel skills. Like that's the basic thing that you would, if you're planning to go into finance or even into marketing or any of these, right? Excel, Office, I would say Excel and PPT and Excel, but you should have like a good hold over Excel. If you're going to go for core finance jobs, then possibly some exposure to SAP or some ERP would also help a lot. Say because SAP is highly in demand as an ERP. So doing a course in SAP, or if you're a bit interested in IT and you want to get into the fintech side of things, learning a language will also help. Language matlab wo nahi Hindi Marathi wala language thi. I'm talking about language like SQL, Java, or some of these languages. If you could learn any of these languages, that is going to add a lot to your profile. And trust me, because of the fintech, see, India is going to be the fintech superpower. It's already is almost. So in the next 10 years, right? Abhi usually kya hota tha? Hum पिछले 20-30 साल अगर, if you would have observed, we used to follow US with regards to all the fintech revolution that used to happen. The next 10 years, it's going to be the other way around. And in that scenario, if you are a finance professional with some background in IT, you guys will be the most sought after professionals. So that's something that you can work upon, and will come in handy some of your soft skills, right? Get into, if you are done with college mein ho to make the most of it. But if you're done with college, participate or get involved into committees like Toastmasters. If you would have heard of Toastmasters, right? Get involved into such kind of, group circles, which will help you develop these soft skills, communication skills. Because regardless of whichever profile that you go ahead with, this is one particular skill set that is going to be quintessential for you. कुछ भी बनो आप, क्रिकेटर बनो, वहां पे भी इंटरव्यूज होते हैं, मूवी स्टार्स बनो, वहां पे भी आपको एक्टिंग करना होगा, कहीं पे भी आपको बोलना आना चाहिए, right way of communicating is quintessential. So that's something that you would have to work upon. So these are some skill sets which, like, if comes directly from top of my mind, but then depending upon which all industries you go ahead with, there'll be some more technical skill sets or technical courses that you would have to enroll yourself for before going ahead with those.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Raj, I think you wanted to ask a question.
From the given questions only, I wanted to ask one question that what are the key skills that interviewer focuses the most on?
So as I mentioned, there are three major attributes that an interviewer looks out for from your, obviously technical skills and all तो है ही है कि आपका technical expertise knowledge क्या है, but over and above that some soft skills if I had to mention, or some non-technical skills if I had to mention. One is confidence. How confident you are. When I'm saying confident doesn't mean you showcase your overconfidence also over there. You are assertive with regards to your answers. And at the same point of time, you do not stammer a lot, nervousness and all. That's just going to create a bit of a, what you could say, a bit of a question in the minds of the interviewer, that whether you are pretty clear about this job or not, whether your clarity with regards to your career is proper or not. Because see, if you're crystal clear that this is the career or this is the path that is there for me, you'll have enough amount of information for it. You actually should see, when do you feel nervous? You feel nervous. One is primarily because if you do not have knowledge about a particular area and you're going to be questioned about that area. And secondly, because you have something very valuable to win or lose because of that. So second wala theek hai, but first wala criteria hai na, us pe agar doubt karne lag gaye, to that becomes a problem. So confidence, honesty is another thing. So the way you answer questions, the way you, what you could say, talk to them gives a glimpse. Because see, in that one pager resume and 15-20 minutes ka interview, a person is not going to be able to understand you fully as a professional or fully as a person. So he'll be looking out for each and every verbal as well as non-verbal, what you could say, skill sets of yours or demeanor of yours, and will be judging you on each of those aspects. आप बात करते समय कितना फास्ट बात करते हो, कितना स्लो बात कर रहे हो, कितना पॉज ले रहे हो, आपका बॉडी मूवमेंट कैसा है, कितने कॉन्फिडेंट हो. Each of these things they'll be judging you. Say for example, if they ask you a question and how are you answering it, whether you're creating some answers or whether you're honestly answering, हर चीज जज किया जाएगा, because उनके पास सिर्फ 15-20 मिनट है, and वो 15-20 मिनट के basis में they're going to judge you and provide you with a position, right? So honesty, another skill, and finally ambitious. As I had mentioned, these three skill sets will be amongst the non-technical important skills. Obviously, technicalities आपका important रहेगा, आपका experience क्या है, technical skill sets आपका work experience है क्या, फिर you have done some courses and all. These will add in additional weightage to your profile.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Yes,
is there any doubt, any query? I have one doubt, Nithin.
Yes,
if the interview is going to be really stressful, then how to handle it?
Ma'am, actually, I would like to thank you for this one particular question, because I forgot this one very important point. So regardless of how bad your interview goes, right? One thing that you can do is you can keep a smile on your face all throughout the interview. Because regardless of how bad the interview goes, you can at least add or try to add some positive vibes to it. When I'm saying smile, haso mat. Just a smile. What do you say, sweet smile would do. At the same point of time, there is going to be a situation, बहुत time interview में होता है और मैंने भी किया है, good cop, bad cop वाला situation. Specifically, if you are applying for a very analytical kind of a role or a role that is very important, right? You will be brainstormed with regards to a lot of questions, a lot of personal as well as objective questions, your, what you can say, theoretical questions. In that scenario, if the interview is not going good, what you can do is, one is keep calm, secondly keep a smile on your face, and देखो एक question की दूरी है, एक question आपने answer अच्छा दे दिया ना, you're going to turn around that entire interview. So just wait for that one particular question, and that one particular question will come sooner or later, right? So that's very important. So ऐसा नहीं कि आपको the पूरा का पूरा interview खराब गया, then possibly this is not a good fit for you. The work, the organization is not a good fit for you. So it's like the nature's way of telling you, ki, boss, this is not the right place that you are in. Either the profile is not good, or the kind of work culture or what the organization that is, possibly it's not good for you. Or या फिर wait for that one particular question which you can turn around. इसीलिए मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि जब भी आपको question पूछते हैं ना starting में, tell me something about yourself. Try to draft the interview. मतलब ये literally क्या, आप ही अपना script लिख रहे हो. बिकॉज आपने अगर वो क्वेश्चन का आंसर में कंटेंट मीट उनको ऐसा दे दिया ना जो आप कंफर्टेबल हो, तो वो वहीं पे क्वेश्चन पूछेंगे. से आई स्पोक अबाउट माय आर्टिकलशिप में, आई वाज एक्सपोज्ड टू से स्टॉक मार्केट्स ब्रोकिंग क्लाइंट. So they'll ask, what did you do in that broking client? What were your achievements over there? So वैसा हम लोग expand करते जाएंगे. They're asking, see, when they're asking for these personal questions, they're asking you for content. Then provide them with content. If you're not comfortable with technicalities, na, try to drag the personal questions a bit. So technicalities वहाँ पे थोड़ा सा छिप जाएगा, right? That's something that you can do. So should we add our LinkedIn profile or our photo in our resume? So LinkedIn का link do mention karo guys, because a lot of the employers do what you would say want to see your LinkedIn profile. Photo is something that is subjective. अगर आपके प्रोफाइल में जगह, अभी से पुराना वाला जो सीवी था उसमें मैं फोटो रखता था, बट यहाँ पे क्या मुझे वो कंप्रेस करना था, so photo would have taken additional what you would say additional space in my CV. So I didn't use that photo as such, but it's a subjective call. See, regardless, आपका skill sets देख के recruit करने वाले हैं, not on the basis of your looks. So it doesn't make any difference as such. But if you want, your format suggests कि यार वहाँ पे वो profile में photo रहेगा तो ज़्यादा अच्छा है, जगह भी ज़्यादा नहीं खा रहे, you can attach your photo. But it doesn't make any difference even if you don't. And अगर जगह नहीं है ना, तो I would say कि don't put a picture.
Are there any more doubts, participants?
Where should we add the reference numbers? So see, there are going to be two ways to this. One is your recruiter, they are going to ask you to fill some form or something wherein they would ask you to mention those details. If they have not asked for those, what they would say is कि CV के end में reference लिख दो. So और नीचे number and जैसे कि आपको अगर समझो कविता मैम का नंबर देना है, वृशाली मैम का ईमेल आईडी देना है, तो ईमेल आईडी दे दो, या फिर नंबर देना है, इफ दे आर कंफर्टेबल शेयरिंग द नंबर, तो वो डालने से पहले एक बार पूछ लेना. जिनका भी आप नाम मेंशन करो ना, उनको एक बार कॉल करके पूछ लेना कि आई एम गोइंग टू मेंशन योर नेम एंड ईमेल आईडी फॉर दिस पर्पस बिफोर यू मेंशन इट, बिफोर यू पुट इट इन योर दिस थिंग, एंड यू कैन मेंशन इट एट द एंड ऑफ योर सीवी. लास्ट पार्ट में रेफरेंसेस के नीचे 1-2 रेफरेंस विल बी मोर देन सफिशिएंट इफ दे आस्क फॉर इट. एंड यूजुअली लोग कौन से रेफरेंसेस देते हैं? यूजुअली if you guys are freshers, you'll be providing references of your principal or vice principal or some professor that whom you have closely worked with, या फिर who has groomed you or mentored you. ऐसे professors का नाम काफी बाद में over a period of time क्या हो जाता है कि they would want your work colleagues के references, because they want to know how good are you in terms of working in a team environment and all. So आपके boss का reference, previous boss के reference, या फिर people who have worked under you, वो specifically mention करेंगे. So उनका नाम और ये आप CV के end में mention कर सकते हैं.
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, how to handle group discussion session effectively?
GD, it's actually a one and because I am a professional group discussion trainer, so I am से लेके सब chartered accountants quite trained for GDs. So it's a 6-hour session, or to be honest. But if I had to just put it across in a couple of sentences, how to prepare for GD. First thing is, जैसे मैंने इंटरव्यू के लिए बोला, last 6 to 8 months का ना, जितने भी major issues है उनके साथ touch base कर लो. So all your non-abstract GDs can be taken care of with this. दूसरा एक GD होता है abstract GD, and this is actually this turns out to be the biggest pain for most of the students, because this tests your spontaneity and your creativity in your content. And trust me, nothing's more interesting than that. But for that, you'd have to be participate in a lot of GD. See, the only way to ace GD is because आपको ऐसा लगता रहेगा कि यार ये तो सिंपल है ना, एक टॉपिक दे देंगे, उसके ऊपर हमें 12 मिनट के लिए बोलना है, वो भी 2 मिनट का सोचने का टाइम देंगे, and there'll be 8 to 10 people, so हम गपशप कर लेंगे, बात कर लेंगे, उसमें क्या बड़ी बात है. Trust me, there are so many intricacies to a group discussion that like say it usually takes me at least a good 3.5 hours to actually conduct various different kinds of GDs, focusing on these specific skill sets, and at the same point of time mention what are those skill sets that are important. So there are a lot of skill sets, like right from the way you position your body while you're sitting over there for speaking, your hand movements, whether you're slouching your back, to the point of how you're speaking. So you shouldn't be someone like say participating in the news hour debate. You don't have to be an Arnab Goswami over there, but at the same point of time, you don't have to be a very timid person also. You need to be someone who's spoken, but not outspoken. So there are a lot of these details, because in a group discussion, you're participating as a part of the team. Even though you want to showcase yourself out there as a leader, you can't be like my way or the highway, because the moment you do that, you will get negative points for that. So a lot of these details are there. But to start off with, a couple of things, please be well read, because आप अगर पढ़ोगे तो ही जाके आपके दिमाग में ideas आएंगे, and ideas आएंगे तो ही आप बोल पाओगे. Otherwise, most of the topics that you will come across, you won't have any content to contribute. So the first and the foremost thing that I would suggest you to do is increase or improve your reading habits. And college में जितने भी GDs होंगे, participate over there. Group discussion cell कौन manage कर रहे हैं फिलहाल के लिए मैम? Karishma ma'am. So get in touch with Karishma ma'am then, and what you could say, participate in as many GDs as possible, as much as possible.
You know what, Nithin, since we have become autonomous, we have made all these activities as, part of their internal assignment.
Perfect.
For business communication, like 40 marks are only for internal assignments, where we have in the second semester, we have mock interviews, we have group discussion and presentation. And in the first semester, we have speech activity. Since it was a pandemic, we conducted something called as communication activity, wherein they had to work on a particular concept and act it out. It was kind of a role play or something. Now, at least those who are attending the session, those, especially those students who are from FY BCom, I'm happy at least they will understand that whatever we are doing in college, it helps the industry. It is going to help, and they will take this subject seriously. My problem is that students don't take business communication seriously. And rather, this is the subject which is going to be with you till the end.
True. You won't believe like the kind of help my group discussion days in college provided me. Like in the exam, I'll give you an example. I was a GMCS, like if you guys might be knowing, CMA, GMCS and orientation hota hai. I was a GMCS faculty right out of CA. At the age of 22, I was taking GMCS sessions for people almost say 5-10 years elder to me. And I was taking these sessions, and the only way that I was able to do so was because there were so many events that I participated in college. 11th, 12th, mein, I had 100% attendance, sat for each and every lecture. FY BCom, like obviously apart from the events and all, FY, abhi koi hai nahi, koi principal ma'am nahi hai, right? Okay, so FY, SY, TY mein, so that started dropping. The reason why, because each and every event, be at the intercollegiate level and at the college, see 100% attendance in college hota tha.
Yes, but I was about to say that.
Because of the events. Not that I still remember TY BCom mein, I was so involved in a lot of these activities. I remember एक lecture I was able to sit all throughout that. That is not something that I'm suggesting you guys to do. I was able to sit only for one single lecture all throughout my TY BCom, because articleship tha, start of my business, for doing a part-time job, ये Enigma tha, Moneta tha, Rapo tha, General Secretary. So, and I was staying in Dombivli. And college was in Matunga, not really close by. So because of which, right, time nahi milta tha. Not that if given an opportunity, I would have loved to sit. 11th, 12th mein aap mere jitne bhi junior college teachers se agar baat karoge, each and every lecture we used to sit up until 4:40 and 5:20 ke lectures tha in the evening. Because trust me, the amount of learnings, the amount of conversations that you have in those class, if not for that, aap kya kar rahe, right? If you're doing something much better than that, then go. But nahi to go for those sessions. Do not miss out on those. A few years down the line, you're going to miss out on all these. I remember, आप लोग अगर The Office देखते हो ना, तो The Office में एक है ना बहुत famous quote है, Andy करके character का है. I love that one particular quote, and that quote basically mentions we all keep on wondering कि यार we want to be in those situations which we have already passed, Say आप college में ना तो आप बोलते हो कि यार college school के क्या दिन थे. बट जब भी आप स्कूल में थे ना, तभी आप वो कभी एंजॉय मतलब यू नेवर रियलाइज द इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ योर स्कूल डेज. अभी कॉलेज के टाइम भी आप वही करोगे कि यार स्कूल के डेज कितने अच्छे हैं. फिर जॉब में जब भी आ जाओगे ना, तभी आपको रियलाइज होगा कि यार कॉलेज के क्या दिन थे, राइट? सो व्हेन यू आर इन दैट पर्टिकुलर मोमेंट, राइट, ट्राई एंजॉयिंग, ट्राई मेकिंग द मोस्ट ऑफ इट. And if you are able to do so for all the opportunities available, trust me, the sky is the limit for you. Not only from building up a memory standpoint, but more so from also building up your career.
One more point, when Nithin mentioned about the not attending lectures, as I said, his attendance used to be 100% in college, because he was there in each and every activity of the college. And all the teachers who were working in that, whether they were like permanent teachers or on contract, they all remember him. They all know him by name. And that is what he has earned, I guess. Because though he's saying that he was not able to attend lectures, but still all the teachers know him because Nithin used to be everywhere.
So this was the quote that I was talking about. Thanks, Nishanta. I wish there was a way to know you are in the good old days before you have actually left.
True.
So yeah, obviously COVID days ko hum good old days nahi bol sakte, but still, when the teachers are taking these many efforts, please make the maximum use of it. So I got to know from Vishali ma'am and other teachers also the amount of initiatives they have been taking, and please honor those initiatives and please participate in them. And hopefully next year to open up हो ही जाएगा. अभी वैसे भी 1.5 months है. Yeah, hopefully. Then you guys should participate in as many events as possible, right?
True. I mean, still to be thankful to our college and the management and all the support what we get. All the events, though in the online form, we were able to conduct. Like for example, this event which we are having it through ELC, I like Raj to speak about our journal. Raj.
Yes, sir. So we have started a journal called Lacuna, and we release volumes each month. So we invite submissions regarding articles, poetry, or reviews of movies or series. And then we compile it, make it a journal, and issue it for the college. So we have had 5 themes so far, and the last theme is going to release on 28th February for the year. So the theme or the entire story which we wanted to speak out through our journal was basically a person who is dealing with his or her dark times, or who is feeling left out. So how does that person finds motivation and then wants to do something in life, or at least do something good and move out of that dark phase.
That's great.
When this was the first time, ELC started with this. I guess there are 2 questions. Soham and
add those instances where we had volunteered for social work, please do. So there might be a lot of initiatives that you would have participated in via NSS or NCC or any of the forums in college, or via Moneta, or ye to hua nahi hoga abhi.
Moneta hua apna, Learn India and all that. Even Natures Club do a lot of activities related to.
Please do add those.
So
because
you can mention that.
There will be
in fact, Soham has participated this year in Avishkar Research Convention.
That's great.
One of the participant. So that also makes a lot of difference participating at university level, and that is also from a point of view of a research.
True.
Because you become a content generator, you give something, you create something, and that is what I guess industry looks for.
True. And also because you'll find a dearth of content, relevant content in your CV, because as a fresher, you have not done a lot of relevant things, right, which matter to the recruiters. So instances like these where you showcase some amount of initiative or leadership qualities or research qualities, that's something that you can add into your CV, which will give in those relevant emphasis on to your CV. So this is another question, sir. Some courses you suggest us to do since we are still at home and have extra time. So again, as I'm mentioning, if you could, if basic, at least advanced Excel courses, macros and all ka Excel ka courses kar lo, utna bhi kar loge na, that will give you a very good head start in your career. So wo kar lo, फिर बाद में आप लोगों को कोई भी ये data अगर data में interest है, data science and all की काफी अच्छे courses है, data analytics, data science, BI tools, ये सब के courses है. If you are planning to get into finance, core finance only, accounting softwares like SAP and all है, उसके थोड़ा बहुत ये कर लो. Also depends upon what do you want to do in life, right? So if you're planning to get into say stock markets and all, financial modeling के कुछ courses कर लो, financial analysis के courses कर लो, तो वो सब will help you. So depending upon the area that you want to venture out for, you can have a few courses done accordingly. Clear, Manas?
I'd like to again add over here, Nithin. Since we have become autonomous, we have started with the credit courses in our college.
Oh.
Excel is one of the course which gives 90 hours training, and the students can earn 3 credits out of it. And you know what? The best part, we have extracurricular activities, 6 credits. I just miss you people. You would have earned more than 12 credits only through ECC.
So I really loved the fact that we had 60-40 in our year. Because 60-40 की वजह से क्या होता था कि बच्चों को आना ही पड़ता था. So we had 40% marks specifically for attendance, participation and everything. So because of which we used to have classes full. पूरे classes बच्चे लोग full होते थे. BCom में बोल रहे FY SYT में. And after our year, I guess in a year or two, the 60-40 went was removed. And I was like, I felt really great कि हमारे 3 साल में 60-40 था. So trust me, guys. Again, if I had to reiterate what Nishant has mentioned over here, please, you are going to miss out on these days. But most of us CA students, right? But the problem what happens is we do not end up coming to college. So हमें पता भी नहीं कि हमने क्या miss किया. And we go to the और जब भी possibly एक conversation होता है किसी और बंदे के साथ जो college में जा रहा है, then they realize अरे यार कुछ जाना चाहिए था यार college में क्या किया था, मतलब the kind of exposure that they had. So Raj, now that you're doing your articleship, do not miss out on the college activities, regardless of where you go for your articleship, regardless of
for sure. And sir, I was about to say that just because the college was online for 2 years, I could be so active in these 2 years. Varna CA ke sath, I doubt that I would have been to college for these many days.
होता है. See, it's all about whether you want to do it. Finally, it's all about with you. It's up to you. If you want to do it, right, you look out for ways to do it. If you don't want to do it, you look out for excuses not to do it. It's as simple as that. It's very much possible. See, because हमारा पूरा हमारे बैच में ना, जैसे I had mentioned during the previous session also, 50 लोगों का कमिटी में से 30 लोग आर्टिकल स्टूडेंट्स थे. एंड एनिग्मा का बात कर रहे हैं हम लोग, रैपो का बात कर रहे हैं, और सब लोग है ना कुछ ना कुछ हो जाता था उनको. मलेरिया हो जाता था, डेंगू हो जाता था. मेरे को तो साल में 2 बार मलेरिया हुआ. नसीब से I was plotted under 2 different managers during the period, एनिग्मा एंड रैपो के टाइम पे, नहीं तो वो भी एक प्रॉब्लम हो सकता था. So if you want to do it, you look out for ways. You won't come out with excuses. But if you don't want to do it, like Aryan used to usually say, Aryan is my best friend, like ever since college days. So he used to say it कि अगर नितिन को कुछ करना है ना, he'll not ये, but अगर उसको कुछ नहीं करना है ना, तो आप कितना भी कोशिश कर लो, so वो नहीं आएगा. So he's not going to come for it. So that's what is the general case with every one of us. If we want to do something, we will look out for a way for it. But if we don't want to, कुछ ना कुछ बहाना हम बना ही लेंगे. ऐसा.
That's what my brother even says कि मतलब CA तो होता रहेगा, you have to go for RAPO and everything, and even he used to go for 3-4 days college में रहता था वो.
कौन से बैच में था?
Your batch only, अर्पित कनाडिया.
अर्पित का भाई है. अरे यार अर्पित, अरे हाँ राज, I remember now. Okay, अर्पित और मैं तो मतलब अभी क्या बोलेंगे, अभी we don't have words to say because it's a public forum over here. So we are like, हम साथ में मतलब बोलते हैं ना, डोंबिवली से साथ में पले बड़े यार, like graduation साथ में, CA final lectures साथ में, IPCC CPD lectures साथ में, articleship साथ में, सब कुछ साथ में किया हमने. मतलब अर्पित यार, recently I had met him. So Vishali ma'am, just something out of the year. So recently I had met all of these guys. So I had met Arpit also. So
Okay.
Yeah. So Arpit is doing really well. He's in Rothschild. He's in an investment banking firm.
Yes, sir.
Doing really
You know
well.
what? Raj told me that his elder brother was in your batch only. But not now. I am able to. When you started speaking, then I remembered Arpit. It's still hi to Arpit from me.
So हम लोग का 3 musketeers का
तो में वो होगा.
Arpit, Jeetu and me.
Yes, I remember.
Jeetu तो अभी NYU में MBA कर रहा है. So like Jeetu is also doing really well. So that's what I'm saying. Arpit, Jeetu, everyone participated. They were a part of Enigma. Arpit was the security head because, you know, for obvious reasons, he was the security head. And during our year Enigma, and we had started.
But you both look so different, Raj.
Cousin है मैम.
Yeah, Raj.
Cousin brother है मैम.
अच्छा, is it your cousin? हम like अभी भी मैंने उसका चेहरा याद है मुझे. राज तो इसके जैसा दिखता नहीं है.
Elder brother चिंतन करके है, उसका अभी शादी हो गया recently.
Okay.
So ऐसा है. That's great यार, that's great. So कनाडिया सुनाना तो मेरा डाउट था, बट मैं बोला यार ये रैंडम ऐसे पूछना कैसे लगता है, बट बाद में because I remember he mentioning about Raj a couple of times. So no, nevertheless, great that you are doing a C as well as participating in the events. Please continue doing this.
Thank you, sir.
I think we can. I had asked ma'am, but I guess she is in traveling. I think if there are any questions, the students can ask. Otherwise, I think we can wind up even.
Sure.
Yeah, Nithin must be having some other.
I have a session at like 15 minute का मैंने ये कर दिया 7 to 9.
Exactly. I knew.
No problem. If there are any questions, you guys can connect with me on LinkedIn also. So वहाँ पे पूछ लेना, कोई problem नहीं. Yeah, Vedant. Okay, Vedant has raised his hand.
Yeah. Acha. Other Vedant. Oh, this is Vedant Somani. Yeah, this is Vedant Somani.
Tell me.
Yeah, Vedant.
I'm audible now?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, Nithin. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good to have someone who has been through the journey of CA and who is standing in front of us today. Yeah, apart from this college forum, I just wanted to ask you, how do you handle the pressure and the articleship?
See, a good question, because depends also upon what. See, firstly, you need to define कि आपको करना क्या है, because a lot of time what happens is people end up going for one, and all throughout the 3 years they don't realize that this is something that they don't want to do. Say stat audit, internal audit, tax, क्या करना है वो अगर आप जल्दी pick up कर लेते हो, so it's not possible with IPCC knowledge to get that कि आपको stat पसंद है कि internal पसंद है कि tax पसंद है. So usually people who do not have that clarity, right, and who would want to get that clarity, usually go for mid-size firms, mid or small size firm. They don't go for a big four. So big four creates a proper product out of you. But the problem is it makes it very niche. एक specific area oriented होता है.
I guess there is some disturbance. Somebody's mic is.
No problem. So having said this, see, articleship ka pressure na can be very well managed if you know what do you want out of it. So abhi articleship mein, say for example, if you're spending statutory audit mein, if you realize, so ek cheez aapko early in the your articleship janna padega ki what are you planning to earn out of these 3 years of your articleship days. Obviously money to karte nahi hai, earn kuch khas milta nahi hai. So what are the learnings that you're going to have from these 3 years of your articleship? So if you're planning to get into stat audit only, या फिर आपको लग रहा है कि यार statutory audit 1 year. So I started off with statutory audit. Both me and Arpit had started off with statutory audit. I realized early in my first year itself that I would be someone who would like to learn more about businesses, because I'd started off my venture in my first year of articleship itself. So I took a shift towards internal audit. Arpit continued in his statutory audit. Possibly that also helped him in building up his career in the core investment banking arena, because that helps you have a good hold over the financial statements and everything. Statutory audit, transactional audit. Internal audit, on the other hand, helped me learn my business processes and all really well. I got a good exposure from that. So if you understand what do you want from those 3 years of articleship early in your articleship, right, you'll be able to manage it better along with your college or any of the initiatives that you do. Just keep that thing in mind. If you're spending in those hours in that particular office in articleship, right, what is the outcome that you're looking out for? And at the same point of time, see, there are going to be late sittings and all, wherein you would have to also manage your CA final classes, and you would have to also manage your college and all. So that's where you're going to learn about multitasking. So don't take this as a pain. Take this as three different lives you're getting to live in a single point of time, which people would have lived 3 different lives separately, right? Going for a coaching course, coaching class, or going for articleship, or going for college. You're getting to do all of those 3 at a single point of time. So try enjoying the process. Automatically, you won't find that stress as such.
But I hope you have time.
Yeah. I have another 5 minutes.
Yeah, sure. Just tell me how do you differentiate between whether it's a work pressure on a temporary basis, or is it something that as work is increasing, you're not inclined towards the field?
So you need to understand whether it's the fundamental problem with you with regards to whether you don't like the work altogether. Because if that's the problem, right, regardless of work pressure, nahi bhi hoga na, aapke dimag mein negativity or stress rahega, because you are not liking the work that you're doing. So the few years down the line, you don't see yourself working in that particular area, and you feel कि यार ये particular काम के लिए I'm putting in my time, right? That's not worth it. You don't feel that worth कि यार आपके 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day you're putting for this work, and that's not something that you're going to do from a long-term standpoint. Then automatically क्या है कि वो fundamental negativity आ जाता है, regardless of work pressure हो ना हो. So ये pressure है ना, इसको handle करना बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है. See, जो hours का pressure है, काम का pressure है ना, वो temporary है, right? And that is quintessential, because that will help you handle future में जब भी multiple चीजें आएंगी ना life में, वो handle करने को अभी से सीखने को मौका मिलेगा. So don't run away from all of those. I still remember me and Arpit, right? We were working for one particular client called as Konica in Andheri. हम 2-3 बजे तक निकलते थे अंधेरी से, and we used to stay in Dombivli. So trains वगैरह बंद हो जाता था, कभी कभार रिक्शा में जाते थे. I remember a couple of times we had night outs in the client place, right? Because of that. So these are going to be memories that you are building up, or you're preparing for the future. So don't shy away from that. But if that's a fundamental problem, like you don't like the work, then it's time for you to look out for ways to change shift base. Like I'll give you an example. There was this senior of ours, like I highly look up to him, Sachil Redkar. So all India first ranker, CA final and all. So he started off his articleship first year in a Big Four. He realized that he was not able to give in time to college activities and all. That's the kind of importance that we used to put in for college activities, imagine. So he couldn't put in time, and he was not able to, what you could say, resonate with what he was doing in the Big Four firm. First year mein usne shift kar liya ek small size firm mein. So wherein he got, so from, I believe he was in Deloitte or something in the first year, wahan pe shift karke transfer le liya. Small size firm where he got a taste of everything under the sun, taxation, audit, internal stats, sub kuch. At the same amount of time, he was able to give in time for the college. He was the Quizzers League secretary, if I'm not wrong. When I was in FIJC, he was in TYBCom. Today, he completed his MBA from Columbia, full 100% scholarship, only student in that batch of Columbia Business School. That got a 100% scholarship.
Yeah.
Settled down in New York today in the what do you say, VC space only. Really brilliant guy. So that's that kind of clarity is very important in life, right? So if you do not have that, spend some time understanding where your interests lie. That's quintessential, regardless of articleship, from a career standpoint also.
Last month only Sachin had come.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, he was there. He was saying India में बहुत धूल की problem है. सुदर्शना उसकी बहुत ले रही थी. अच्छा तुझे धूल दिख रही है इंडिया में, यूएस वाला हो गया. It was fun. I think Gauri, we can wind up, Raj and Gauri, because it's 7:15 and 7:16 rather, I should say. It is getting late. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. And I'll now invite Raj to give us the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Gauri. And a very good evening to one and all present here. Firstly, I would like to request you all to fill in the feedback form, which Naman Kothare will post it right now in the chat box. The feedback form is necessary to mark your attendance for credit hours and certificates. So starting with I, Raj Kannade, on behalf of English Literary Circle, would like to express a heartfelt gratitude for all and everyone who has made this webinar possible. I would like to thank our principal, Dr. Mrs. Shobna Vasudevan ma'am, and Vice Principal Kavita Jaju ma'am, who has provided us with this platform to guide our students for their next step. I would like to thank you, Nithin Shetty sir. You have been a fabulous support or an advice giver for us tonight and as well as on 18th February. I would like to thank our faculty in charge, Brushali Canary ma'am, for being an outstanding and ever supportive for all the events we have done this and for this seminar especially. And I would, last but not the least, I would like to thank all of you for being an amazing audience. So thank you so much. And please fill the feedback form mentioned in the chat box.
I think when the girl asked the question, she had given us the next topic, Raj, GD.
Yes, definitely.
But all in all, Nithin, thank you so much.
Anytime.
About time. And you know, ये रहता है ना, anytime मैम इतना अच्छा लगता है सुन के, मतलब ये बंदा इतना busy रहता है, but just because मैम बुलाती है करके आ जाता है. So thank you so much for that.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a
See,
lot.
like what happens is interviews and resume writing, we do teach in class. But, you know, when it comes from a person who is into the business and who is like, you know, being on the other side, so what the companies look for in a candidate or how the interview should be. So that was like really in between, actually, to be very honest, I missed 15-20 minutes because I had to attend this Avishkar ka meeting. And I was like, you know, cursing university today for the same. But definitely YouTube link is there. So I'm going to sit and cover that part which I have missed. But thank you so much, Nithin. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Meet you later on phone. Yeah?
Yeah.
क्योंकि एक वेदांत का क्वेश्चन बाकी है जो मैं तुझे पर्सनल पूछूंगी. Okay, dear. Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks. Akshay, wait for some time because let all the participants get the feedback link. Because if we close the meeting immediately, then they will not be able to, you know, get the feedback link. So we'll wait for some time and then we can close the meeting, Akshay. So thank you, Raj, Gauri, and the entire team of ELC. I can see over here Astha, I can see Naman,